What's up, everybody? Zach Baer, Daniel Bakley with you, the weekly roundup. As usual, brought to you every week by Alan Foy at eXp Realty, LLC. If you're looking to buy or sell a home or looking for a change in career or brokerage, that's who you go to, eXp Realty, LLC, 302-682-8820, or visit him at alan.foy at exprealty.com. Like or subscribe, A2D Radio, the weekly roundup, all of our platforms.
And here is the intro video. Let's go!
This ain't the fuck like oh, this game he stinks!
Oh shit!
It's gone!
Yeah, he's always got the weirdest shit going on. He can't just play the video. Like, he needs that. Here's the intro video. We all know what's coming, Frank. Just play this stupid fucking thing.
He's got to have the lead into it.
The lead in. Next, I'm just going to be. He's a DJ or something.
We got Robot Zach there.
What happened, Daniel?
You were like turned into a robot for like.
After all these weeks, all talk, for 89 days officially, and Major League Baseball and the Players Union, they come to an agreement for the CBA, and we will have baseball, a full 162-game schedule.
It's about time they get their heads out of their asses, but props to the players for sticking their ground and then essentially getting what they wanted. So they're going to be starting a week late, April 7th, which is good, and we won't miss too much time. They'll be able to make up those one or two series throughout the year. But what are your thoughts on all the plans that were made throughout the negotiations with them getting rid of the shift? They did that. There's a couple other things with like just contracts that they've kind of made better. And then they've even tried to divvy out the schedule amongst all the streaming platforms. They're trying to get baseball out there on Apple. They got the Peacock app, of course, Fox, ESPN. And then, of course, we'll talk about it in a little bit, the big news with Joe Buck.
Which we actually talked about a few weeks back on the show. Me and you were talking, when the news about Troy Aikman's contract broke that he was going to Monday Night Football. We said, watch, Joe Buck will be right behind him. A lot more opportunities for Joe Buck at ESPN than there might be at Fox right now. And I was thinking about this today, and we'll get to the poll question in 1 second, but I was thinking about this today, like, Monday Night Football really is like, if you're Joe Buck and you want to be like that guy, right? Like of this generation, he's like, he wants to be the greatest broadcaster of this generation. You're not doing that on the 1 o'clock game on Sunday on Fox. Monday Night Football is where it's at. Howard Cosell, Al Michaels, John Madden, all the legends, right? That's always been where it's at, prime time. And now this is his opportunity to go work prime time, all the eyes on all the big games, Sunday night, Monday night. That's where they want to have all the best teams, all the big time games, all the prime time matchups. And, sometimes it's for a career, it's good for a change. And for Fox, I'm sure, what's great is he seems like a guy. I've always saw him on Howard Stern and all that. I like Joe Buck. Oh, like the Joe Buck that isn't the broadcaster, I love him so much more. Like when you just see Joe Buck, the person, on things like Howard Stern and interview programs like that, he's phenomenal. He's like a funny, he can be dirty as hell with jokes and all that. I mean, the guy is like, I think the human being, like, I'm like, yeah, he's a good dude. I just kind of hate him as an announcer sometimes. But could you imagine Fox is their lead baseball guy, their lead football guy? What are they doing now? They're going to shit themselves. And he kind of seems like the dude that kind of thinks that's funny. Like, look at y'all are fucked. It seems like something that Joe Buck maybe gets a little bit of a kick out of. So
yeah,
I'm always a fan of that too.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the coffin with ESPN gives him more opportunities. Of course, he was the main baseball guy with the Fox, but he was only doing like the 1 o'clock or maybe the 4 o'clock game for football.
Well, he doesn't want to
do, but now he has the opportunity to cover more games with baseball and football. Like if he could go to Monday Night Football, you're going to get paid more doing that than he was doing baseball. Like they came out and said the contract with ESPN is going to be like 5 years, $70 million. That's a lot of money just to cover.
Yeah. For an announcer, like dude, they're getting paid. This dude's getting paid more than players. You know what I mean? That's how big of it is. And like the Bryant's point here, there's people that'll watch like you know many football games I've watched, and I've had like cousins and people like that in my family at Thanksgiving, like bitching about the fact that Christmas, whenever we're all gathered around a barbecue house, and you've got Joe Buck on, and all they do is bitch about Joe Buck the entire time. We're less interested, like they're paying less attention to the football game and doing more bitching about Joe Buck than they are the actual game itself. People watch, I hate Joe Buck just to bitch and whine, and all the social media comments that you'll see about how awful Joe Buck is and how much they can't stand him. Yet here you are watching, and he's getting paid $70 million to annoy the fuck out of you. And when an announcer can live that rent free in your head, the guy be doing something right at his job.
Now,
here's an announcer supposed to be irrelevant. Like you supposed like who the fuck are you? Like ain't nobody supposed to care about you, and way too many people care about Joe Buck.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. What is Fox?
By the way, I've got money on Villanova. I'm already up $170 for the day, and if Villanova wins, we're up another $243. That'll be $400 for the day, Daniel. For the day.
Yeah, that's big time right there. But what is Fox going to do now? Not only do they lose Buck, but they lose Aikman. So they lose both their guys with football, but then they lose their big-time baseball guy. That's a lot of shoes to fill just for not baseball, but football as well. They're going to have to do like a total rehaul. What's going on, Tom? We got some issues with Zach, of course, going right now. But this is big news for ESPN because there's been always talks about how Monday Night Football needs to improve as a broadcasting unit because they haven't been the same since they had, of course, Madden on and Michaels when they moved to Sunday night. And maybe this is a chance for Monday Night Football to bring in Buck with Aikman. I believe they kept one of the guys from last year's unit on there, and it could be a totally different game call-wise, and it could get people tuned in more to Monday Night Football because lately a lot of people have been tuned in more to Sunday Night Football compared to Monday Night.
Or the Manning cast. I think a lot of people have like when you've watched Monday Night Football the past year, even the past couple of years, like the announcing crew is just compared to what Monday Night Football used to be. You got Brian Greasy doing color commentary. Louis Riddick, who should be a GM somewhere, instead he's stuck doing color commentary on Monday Night Football. And I don't remember who the hell does the play-by-play, but he's like, I don't even think he's the top guy at ESPN. You know what I mean? He's like the 5th play-by-play guy for them, and he's doing Monday Night Football somehow. So I think they realize.
I know Greasy stepped down. I know Greasy's going to be coaching now.
Right? He took the 49ers QB job.
Yeah, he took that job, and then I would be down for a Joe Buck, Louis Riddick, and Troy Aikman trio.
Yeah, they'll probably have a third person in there. I think they're intrigued by the idea of doing something like dual. You got the Manning cast and then Joe Buck and Aikman and some type of, you're working the two of them together into some type of promotional tactic for why Monday Night Football is such a big deal again. I get it on their end. Whatever. I thought moving the ESPN when I talked about it weeks ago, that it kind of foreshadowed the idea that maybe he was worried about Major League Baseball and where it was going and the direction of all that, and the fact that him being the lead baseball guy for Fox right now might not be as prestigious of a gig as it sounds like, sort of thing. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe he's like, I still like doing baseball, but what the hell is doing the World Series? Awesome, like great, but like he could do the Super Bowl and shit like that too, for whenever ABC does it, ESPN, ABC, they got the partnership there and all that, with Disney. So like, you think they're not going to find a way to still have him and Aikman do the Super Bowl and shit like that? You know what I mean? Come on. Next, ESPN will be signing that deal, making that one happen, in some way, somehow. So I would have to think there's something else going on with all that. For baseball, again, it does kind of put them in a tough spot for Fox. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, it's just weird. Like, I've kind of identified him more with like the baseball gig than I think I have, football over the years. Just because you're like, initially it was always him and McCarver, right? Him and Tim McCarver for the longest time, and now it's been him and John Smoltz. But you're almost like, how do you watch Fox on baseball, like Fox Saturday Baseball, the World Series on Fox, and not have Joe Buck doing it? It's a little weird. That's to Brian's point, he said probably Kenny Albert becomes their lead guy. Oh, my people hate Joe Buck. I can't stand Kenny Albert. Oh, Kenny Albert is awful.
What's going on, Don? But I think that's why you're seeing a lot of the streaming services pick up baseball. Like Peacock has picked up a bunch of games. They're trying to show that. And I think the one interesting one is with the Apple is going to be shown the Friday night primetime games. They're adding that to Apple streaming service. So that's going to be interesting to see who they get to cover that on Friday nights and how that's going to be.
To be honest, now that I think about it, I think I know the Fox guy. I believe his name's Joe Davis or whatever. Davis. He replaced Vince Scully with the Dodgers, and he's really, really good. Young guy, kind of has that, the good-looking, young, fresh face that all these networks would love. I would think he's already been doing some work with Fox when Joe Buck wasn't available. I would think he becomes their lead baseball guy, and that's probably a good decision. Maybe Joe Buck saw that too. He could be like, listen, they have a guy that can do baseball. They don't need me. I want to go pursue other opportunities. I could see that. I could see all that. It's a lot of money, though. I mean, think about the money you've got tied up in an announce team. Holy shit. Yes. We're talking the baseball CBA. The baseball CBA, these dudes, and they think, baseball players are overpaid. Baseball players, this dude talks into a microphone and tell you, touchdown, fucking Justin Herbert, and you're over here paying him out. Here's $80 million. That's like the old joke that they used to make about Adam Sandler, where they'd be like, he could just sing a song about anything, rhyming at the end, and somebody would pay him $20 million for it. Like, Joe Buck's at that point of his career. Like, I've heard Joe Buck tell a story on Howard Stern about him pissing in a bottle while calling a touchdown during the Super Bowl. Like, what I mean? Like, literally, it's a real story. Like, all right, like, hey, that's funny. That's real life shit. Well, he's at this point, like, yeah, like, I'm just, give me $80 million to like do like absolutely like nothing. Like, think about it. Like, I don't like. It's gonna be on mute half the time. Half the people who have the volume down, not even listening to him, and they're paying him $80 million.
And
I want that guy's gig. I want his job. Fuck.
And he's good. He's basically continuing what his father did. So it's like it was kind of passed down from his father to him. So it's like for him,
sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
He's used to it. Like just like you said, he was built for it. It's just second nature for him. And if he's going to get paid that much, why not leave? And I think that was just an added bonus for him that he's getting paid that much now compared to Fox. I know he was getting paid good for Fox, but geez, 4 or 5 years and $70 million, that's a big jump. That's getting paid a lot, like almost half of what some of the football players were or baseball players were making. So
yeah, the worst commentators down. I hate Kenny Albert. I hate Matt Vasgersian. Oh, Matt Vasgersian with his Santa Maria fucking call that he does. Oh, Santa Maria! Whenever he thinks a home run's like crushed into the upper deck or something. And then he did that last year in the playoffs, and it was hit off the green monster. It wasn't even crushed, like it wasn't even gone. Some dude hit a ball off the green monster, and he did his Santa Maria call. He's really fucking annoying. My favorite Matt Vasgersian story. This will give you an idea how fucking awful this guy is. About 15 years ago, when he was working for the MLB Network, they were in the studio doing some type of live show, and there was an injury on the field, and a player was getting like carried off on a stretcher. And Matt Vasgersian made some idiot comment that the one security guard looked a lot like Donovan McNabb. He said, "Doesn't that security guard there look a lot like Donovan McNabb?" And like I think Billy Ripken was on the show. Like Cal Ripken's brother was doing some MLB network stuff at the time, and he was like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, and he said that live on the air. Like Matt Vasgersian, Oh, there's a guy being carried off in a neck brace on a stretcher. And here's Matt Vasquez. Oh, look at the security guard there. It looks like Donovan McNabb. Like, yeah, somebody just died on the field, Matt, and you're worried about a security guard that looks like Donovan McNabb. He's bad. Yeah, there's some bad ones. I don't hate Joe Buck the way other people do. I don't know why people hate Joe Buck so much. I think it's just an easy thing. Like, people get caught up in, like, all the easy, like, it's like when people used to hate Madden, and you're like, Madden's like a legend. Like, you hate Madden, like, because he draws on the screen and because they made fun of they make fun of him on Mad TV with Frank Caliendo. Like, I think that's why people hated Madden back in the day. Oh, he draws on my screen. Like, yeah, great. You didn't know what the fuck was going on until he did. So why are you worried about it? Like, some people just become easy to hate on, and it is what it is. But Don probably disagrees. He's probably going to tell me Joe Buck's the worst or something.
I think I hate Chris Collinsworth. That's who I hate. He's just become annoying. I used to like him, but it's like he tries to be too obvious what he says, and it's like we already know what's going on, and then he tries to point out the obvious, and it's like we already see that. Just give us something we don't know. And like with baseball is tough because I see Joe Buck so much that, like, with baseball, he's just ingrained into my mind. With that, like, I do like though. He got a good point there. He said Booger McFarland. He's pointing him out.
Well, yeah, he should have never really been in a color role anyway. This is why ESPN went out and got Aikman and Joe Buck, because they were stuck with Booger McFarland doing fucking color commentary.
I remember going to a game and
Booger Mobile or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, he's on the mobile on top, moving around. I'm like, I hope I'm not on that side because that gets in the way, and then he's just as worse.
But Booger McFarland, the one Monday night game, I don't remember who it was, but they were in it was an empty. It was like a 5 wide receiver empty backfield set. Yeah. And Booger McFarland goes, look out for the RPO here. They might run an RPO. You're like, there's nobody in the backfield, Booger. Who's they running an RPO with? Who's he gonna fake a handoff to? Himself? Oh my God. They're paying this guy.
Hey, at least I'm going with Chris Collinsworth just because he was getting paid more. Like, Booger McFarland was probably just getting paid decent, but Chris Collinsworth is getting paid a lot to cover Sunday Night Football. So that's why I give the leaner towards him, because at least we don't expect Booger to be the best. And of course I
don't know if he's Collins is another one that doesn't annoy me the same way that I think he annoys everybody else. I see why, like, I guess he drives people nuts, but he doesn't really annoy me in that way. Damn, missed another 3. Can't fucking hit shit, and he was wide open off a screen. I got money on Villanova, and it's not going well right now. Another 3. Oh, he missed.
Now, going towards the poll question, of course, will the Phillies make a big splash sliding? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we need to. The Mets just traded for another pitcher today. So the Mets, they got Max Scherzer. They've got, they've got a hell of a, Jacob deGrom, right? He's been lights out for the past few years. So they've got a hell of a lineup and pitching staff. We need to make a move. And, we heard Bryce Harper trying to recruit his good buddy, Chris Bryant. They were childhood friends in Vegas, grew up playing travel ball together. So that seems like the perfect move for us. Can play some outfield, can play some third base, can DH. A lot of things that he can do for us. Possibly even, a guy that can play some first base for you. He's definitely athletic enough to do that. They haven't asked him to do it yet in his career, but he's probably a guy that could do that at some point. If you sign him to a 7-year deal, come year 4 or 5, if you had to slide him over to a defensive position, you can. But what's great about all these guys now that we talk about him and Castellanos and all these guys is the DH is a permanent thing. And you don't have to worry about where they're going to play defensively. It helps with the Alec Boehm conversation too. If you just had to have Boehm DH or Rhys Hoskins DH or something, you've got a lot of guys that we were worried about where they're going to play. What's Alec Boehm's future? Well, if he could just focus on hitting, he's got a future now. Because we didn't know where the hell he was going to play defensively.
And it kind of helps with pitching too. The pitchers can just focus on pitching. You don't have to worry about the scenarios where maybe I need to pull him for a pitch hitter now to hit because we're down by 1. You don't have to worry about him hitting him, and you got a DH now.
And the foul. Let's go, Daniel. Let's go. Villanova hit the three to take the lead and the foul, baby.
How much time's left?
4 minutes.
Nice. That's good stuff. Good stuff. It's good to see him pull the lead right now, and hopefully they keep it because that's what
I know.
need.
We've probably got a lot of Villanova fans in the chat room. Let's be honest here. A lot of people rooting for Nova.
Yeah, and then of course, since we can't rely on them developing talent right now, that they're going to have to sign somebody, and of course, more than likely they're going to overpay that person. So, but when you are,
which I'm fine with that. Like if you went and had to get Trevor Story, like I was looking at some of this stuff, I didn't realize Trevor Story was as consistently good of a hitter as he has been over the past 5 years. I mean, guy has been phenomenal. As far as a power speed combination, goes and up the middle when you're playing. When you talk about shortstop and second base, and you're that type of power speed combination, that's good stuff. You need that in the middle of your lineup. If you give me Chris Bryant, Trevor Story, and I need another pitcher of some kind. I think I need one more arm.
Would you be if you had to choose between a starting pitcher or say two good relievers? What would you do? Because of course,
we've got Knievel now, right? We went out and got Corey Knievel, whatever his name is, in the trade. He's supposed to be that back into the bullpen guy that's going to solidify everything there. I'd still like to add one more arm. Like I don't think Kenley. Every time he talks about Kenley Jensen, I really don't think he'd be the guy that we would sign.
He's going to be a lot too.
I don't know exactly who's available there to try to go out and make a deal with. That's what I think I'd rather focus on. I know Chris Bryant makes me better immediately, and I know Trevor Story makes me better immediately. So I got two guys there. Maybe I focus on knowing that they make me better, and then I just roll the dice with what I've got, knowing from a pitching perspective, your starting rotation is not too bad, and you hopefully got a big enough upgrade in Knievel where you like where you're at there, and then you have the ability, obviously, to try to fuck around with some trade situations as the year goes on if you need to add some more pieces. But Bryson Stott and Mick Abel are two prospects that seem to be getting a ton of love around the league. They're both top 100 prospects now, and everybody, we don't develop talent. Well, yeah, until you do, right? I mean, at some point you got to, we go miss on all these guys for the next 100 years. Like at some point, somebody can play, right? Like I know we got Don Mattingly's kid. Preston Mattingly is running our player development department now. I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess anytime you talk about pedigree, Don Mattingly's a guy that was around the game forever, right? Preston Mattingly was drafted, never really made it as a minor leaguer. But those are the types of guys who got the baseball pedigree, understands what it takes to be a big leaguer and how to prepare for and all that stuff. I don't. We used to have a guy here when Ed Wade was here. We used to have a guy, I believe Mike Arbuckle was his name, that's now running the Royals farm system. Yeah. Shock that they can develop talent all of a sudden coming through that pipeline. That was the last time we developed talent at a consistent level.
Arbuckle, of course, Ed Wade. Back in the late.
When Ed Wade was here, I think Arbuckle was the guy that was running the minor league. He was like the head of minor league scouting or whatever, and was Ed Wade's go-to guy, right hand man with all that. So, if we made a ton of changes, Mattingly I think just took that role last year. You see what happened. Maybe we're able to develop guys differently. I'm willing to trade them if that means I can get some type of stud pitcher, hitter, whatever I need to do to win now because great. Mick Abel's going to be a great pitcher in 4 years. Yeah, well, I don't have 4 years. I need to win now. I've got Bryce Harper in his prime right now. I've got Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola that can still win me, play well enough for me right now, and JT Realmuto who could still be good enough right now where I need to go try to win now. So, great. Them developing sounds awesome, but if I got to trade them to try to bring in the final finishing pieces on what will be a championship team, that's what Dave Dombrowski does. You know what I mean? He shows up. He builds a championship winner, and then he leaves. That's how he does it.
The only problem I would say is that we need more than just one or two pieces to build a championship team. We haven't even made the playoffs. I don't know. There's a lot of holes on this team.
You were a legitimate closer away last year from being a playoff team, right? So now you have your legitimate closer, hopefully.
Closer and defense, because the defense was horrible last year. You couldn't field the ball.
Yes,
and part of the problem
but
was Al Bohm.
is it going to be that bad again this year? Like, is that because defensively the players were that bad, or is that just because you had a lot of that's a really fluky year, which had a lot of really, really bad defensive things happening?
Yeah.
Are they going to be that bad again this year, knowing how bad it was last year? Though you better hope they'll clean the fuck up.
I hope they get better, but when it's become a yearly issue the past 2-3 years with the defense,
Juris Familia, isn't that the dude that was suspended like twice or whatever with the Mets?
Yeah,
he was great. So we signed a guy that's suspended twice for PEDs. Fucking phenomenal. That's not a big signing. Who the fuck tried? Like, oh my god, we're gonna sign a big free agent. We just did, Juris Familia. Like, what? Go stick another needle in your ass.
Because I feel like starting pitching wise, they could use another starting pitcher, but I just feel like if we get somebody to come back to reality, of course, we can't just have one pitcher be hot and then the other be cold at the 1 and 2 spot. Both of them need to be on point. If both of them are on point, I feel like we really don't need to sign somebody else. We just go in with those two and then see what we have with the other three and then try and build the relief core, because just like you said, that relief core has kind of let us down the past couple of years. Last year, we led the league in blown saves. If we can cut that at least in half, that'll get some of those games back. And then if we can
you would have cut it in half. Offense, I mean, again, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. We're not far off of being a contender. You cut the blown saves in half. All of a sudden, that's already another 10 wins.
Yeah, we just can't expect Bryce Harper to carry the offense.
Oh, let's be another 5-point Villanova lead. 2 minutes to play.
How big was that he came back? He didn't have to, but because he got hurt, with the new rule, it allowed him to come back. He has a lot of just veteran stability.
Heart and soul of that team. You could tell he was. They love him. They rally around him. They want to go win a championship for him.
Exactly. You got that, and then you got a top tier coach. So that goes a long way. They could be a team that gets into the tournament, and if they're hot, they could make a run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's look at the top free. Let's look at the top free agents right now. Top MLB free agents still available. Top MLB free agents. Google. I know we got Chris Bryant, Trevor Story, Nick Castellanos, Carlos Correa, Freddie Freeman. Now, Freeman's got a lot of connections to the Yankees. We know he's not signing here. Correa's not going to sign here either. So I was trying to mention the realistic names. That's what brings you back to Chris Bryant and Trevor Story immediately.
We got Michael Conforto, Kyle Schwarber, Anthony Rizzo.
Kyle Schwarber's a name. Yeah, that's a good name. Conforto's a good name.
Henley Jensen, Clayton Kershaw.
Kershaw just signed back with the Dodgers. Rodon just signed with the Giants.
Yep. Nelson Cruz.
Andrew Chafin's a good name with the Athletics. That would be a good name.
Yes. We got
Danny Duffy, Colin McHugh.
Got Zach Greinke, Colin McHugh, Danny
Grinke's
Duffy.
I wouldn't mind adding Greinke.
Yeah, Andrew McCutchen, Eddie Rosario, Ryan Tepera.
I think if you could give me Chris Bryant and Kyle Schwarber, I actually think I like Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber, and even if you could give me Trevor Story, I don't need another pitcher. You know what I mean? Those three, go spend stupid money on Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber, and Trevor Story.
See, if you could get Chafin and Tepera and just because I think we need
Chapin would be a good signing. That would be a really underrated signing.
Yeah. You got Tommy Pham, Jonathan Villar, Jose Iglesias, Duber Herrera, Yusei Kikuchi. He was the left-hander of the Mariners, but he just signed today, actually, with the Blue Jays. You got Joe Kelly.
He just signed. Kelly just signed with the White Sox, I believe.
Okay. Tyler Anderson and Jorge Soler. That's the top 30.
Jorge Soler's a free agent?
Mm-hmm.
I might like the Soler signing. Well, is he able to play? Didn't he blow his knee out?
He is. He as of right now, he's fine. Right now,
is he?
Yeah,
that's not a bad signing. If you say you didn't have the money to spin Schwarber, Story, and Chris Bryant. Give me Chris Bryant story and like Jorge Soler. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
the Dodgers and the Red Sox are going after him.
To Soler?
Yeah.
Of course.
We got a shot match, wall hacker, color room heart. Say this year, Houston Astros will win the titles, I think.
Dusty Baker will never win a championship. He's the Marty Schottenheimer of Major League Baseball.
Marty Ball.
Baker Ball.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see exactly who they go after because like they've been linked to Chris Bryant for like the past 8 months. I feel like, especially
Chris Bryant and Bryce have always been tight. They've been tight since they were kids. They've always talked about that relationship. And then there was there was always the rumors of Bryce Harper going to the Cubs back when they were winning the World Series. Like, oh, like in a few years here, Harper's going to go to the Cubs. And instead of that, it's like Harper's in Philly, and now maybe it's the other way around, and Chris Bryant comes here. And he was another guy. Remember, I'd been riding the Nick Castellanos bandwagon. I thought Chris Bryant had hit a wall and gotten hurt and like had a couple down years. He's been very consistent. He did have like a couple years there where he was hurt a little bit.
Yeah,
but when he's been healthy, he's still been productive. He was productive last year. He was productive a couple years ago. So he's a guy that's still going to hit you 270, give you close to 30 homers, and while playing 3 different positions. That's really valuable, especially for a team like us who needs him to play all 3 of those positions.
I just hope he didn't do it last year just for the contract because it was a contract year. I hope he
didn't he hit like 34 homers or something though the year before that.
He might have, but I know his batting average was very low. It was like
he's never been a high batting average guy. He's kind of a 260, 265 hitter, right? He strikes out a ton. He walks a lot, but he'll hit you 30 homers and drive in a ton of runs. And, like you take that in your lineup. It's not like he's hitting 220. He's not a Joey Gallo or whatever the hell his name is, right? Like,
yeah. No, but he performed like that the year before. But seeing him do better.
That's what I thought he was banged up. He had like a wrist injury or something that year. Like, I think he was battling some type of like bad injury.
Yeah, but doing good
last year. Nice, big shot. Villanova up 4, 15 seconds to play.
Perfect.
Nice, short on the 3. Villanova, scramble. Get the rebound. Foul with 7 seconds. They fouled Gillespie. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, because last year.
To count my money.
Yeah, because what is it? He's hit 275, 292, 295, 272, 282. 2020, he batted 206. He only had
that was the pandemic shortened year. See, I take that one out because that for me was if you go look, a lot of guys had fluky years that year. It was really fluky. The pandemic shortened year was just weird, and I try to like let that be an outlier instead of something that I look at hardcore as some type of thing that helps me decide, how good of a guy still is, sort of thing.
And he only played like 34 of the games.
He was hurt. And like I said, a lot of guys seem to miss time that year. It's just one of those weird fluky years that's an outlier. A lot of them missed time. A lot of them were hurt, not in baseball shape sort of thing.
Yeah. 267 and then 262 split between.
Yeah, it's better than you thought. You see what I'm saying? He's not a guy that's hitting 240. He's a guy that finds a way to hit close to 280 for you. You know what I mean? And it's, and even if you're like, he's not going to hit 280 anymore, I can take him hitting 260 if he's going to hit me close to 30 homers. I'm fine with that. And think about it. He did that in Chicago, and he did that with the Giants. To think he won't like be better in a stadium like us in CBP, where you can absolutely rake, as a right-handed hitter, as a guy that can hit, can drive the ball to all fields. I think he could be a guy that's going to, maybe like, oh wow, like I didn't know he still had this in him, and has like one of the better years of his career if he plays here.
The only problem is he's only hit 30 home runs twice.
But he always hits, like I said, 28. He had 28 one year, 27. He's always in that ballpark.
Well, he had 26, 39, 29, 13 in 2018, 31, 4. He had 18 with the Cubs and then 7 with the Giants.
So it's 25. So again, 25, 28, 27, 39, 31. There's a couple years in there, obviously, that were down years. But like again, you take that, and I'm saying that's what I'm saying about the home run production. If you think those 20, those 28 home runs are like last year, it's 25 last year between Chicago and the Giants. That becomes 30 just because him playing here in Philly. you can add a few more home runs to that total because
Now,
it's a lot more of a hitter-friendly ballpark than
Now,
Chicago
my
or the
question-
Giants is.
yeah. My question is, will that be worth it for how much he's going to cost you? Because of course, there's how much he's
Absolutely, because of his defensive versatility.
Yeah, well, that's with me. It's you got his cost, and then you got what the Phillies are going to have to pay for him because obviously they're going to have to overpay for him.
I don't give up. Well, you know what though? But that's where Bryce is doing his. You're hoping Bryce does his thing. And hey, listen, you're gonna come here. You're gonna play with somebody that's a close friend of yours. Chemistry's gonna be really good. It's it's a fun. It could be a fun clubhouse to play in. And Bryce is gonna be the guy. Listen, if you come here and you play your ass off and you do everything you can from an effort perspective, these people are gonna love you. And there's not gonna be a better place to win, sort of thing. I don't know if we have to overpay. I don't mind paying him a ton of money. Listen, guys that can do what he does, guys that can hit 270, hit you 25 to 30 homers while playing third base, left field, center field. How many guys can do that? That's a really, really versatile player. We're going to pay Kyle Schwarber a ton of money to come in DH and play right field and maybe some first base while hitting from the left-handed position, while being a lefty who I agree, I think he could do some damage in this ballpark, but I would be more worried about overpaying him. Because Schwarber's the guy to me that's like, big old left-handed swing, and all of a sudden he's hitting 230 and striking out 200 times a year, while struggling to drive the ball, come 4 or 5 years into that contract sort of thing. But I'm cool with signing all of them because, like I said, I need to win now. Give them all contract, and if 4 years from now they all suck, I don't give a fuck if that means we won a World Series within that time. Great. Yeah. Win me my World Series within the next 3 years, and none of it matters.
I'd be fine if we get Chris Bryant and at least one, hopefully 2 relievers, and I think that would help a lot.
I'm with you. Chris Bryant's my big piece. If I can get Chris Bryant, I everything else just becomes extra.
You add to the offense, and then you add to the relief corps because the starting pitching did pretty decent last year, and then of course we had a
and you would hope that Nola's going to bounce back. Nola's not going to have the same type of down year. That's what really killed us last year. Was Nola didn't pitch up to the level that he could and that he should.
Yeah, if he can recover from that, then you got 2 really good starting pitchers at 1 and 2. You got
and we're keeping Gibson, right? Gibson's going to be in that rotation. He's staying here. He's another year on the deal, which is a really a really underrated move to think that that's a guy that's a solid starting pitcher that's going to be a 3 behind Nola and Wheeler for you. That you're not paying a ton of money, really affordable contract, but at the end of the year, you could look back and be, wow, how he was a really solid pitcher for us. And probably, when you look at one of our biggest problems last year in the past couple of years, it was after Nola and Wheeler. Who's your 3, 4, 5? I feel really, really solid. I think I like Gibson there as my 3 better than maybe anybody else that we have, to offer right now.
Yeah, and just like I said, if you get Nola to come back to his true form, like he had a down year, like I called that like a Cole Hamels year, like had a great year and then fell down
after the World Series year, the 09 season.
If he can come back down, come back up to reality, you got your 2 starting pitchers that are very good. The 3, 4, 5 were pretty decent last year. Like they had their ups and downs, but they pitched very well for where they were at. All that really killed us was getting another hitter to go at Bryce, and then the relief corps with all the blown saves. And we had a couple guys that did decent in the bullpen, but
Chapin's huge. The more we talk about it, Daniel, and the more we talk about it out loud, signing Andrew Chapin would be a huge signing for this team.
Big time. And if you could bring a guy like that in to kind of try and help out balance that relief corps, that helps out everybody pitching wise. It helps the starters because then they can trust the relievers, and it helps the relievers because then they start getting guys out, and you're not blowing as much saves. That's what made the difference in making the playoffs barely and not making the playoffs last year. Because
you just need as many quality arms back there as possible, more than anything. It's like I don't really care how many innings they can go, whether they're starters or relievers. I just need as many quality arms, on my pitching staff as I can possibly have.
Yeah, but that
he was
just like
he had a 1.83 ERA last year, right? Got a career ERA of just over 3. Really, really good relief pitcher, and been doing it successfully now for a long time.
What's going on, Charles? He said, "Yo, gentlemen." But when we won the World Series, we had a great relief corps. The year later, when we lost to the Yankees, we made it, but we had a shit relief corps. They didn't do great. And then, of course, Hamels didn't do great. We just had good starting pitching from a couple of our starters. And
by the way, remember, Daniel, Chafin did most of that in Arizona. He was one of the best relief pitchers in baseball doing it in Arizona, a place where they score a ton of runs.
Exactly.
Right, and his worst year, he was from an ERA perspective. His worst year was the 2020 pandemic year. Like I said, another outlier. He had like an ERA of 8 in the 2020 season. Fuck it. The next 2 years after that, like last year, he had a 1.83 ERA, 1.83 between the Cubs and the Athletics. I love it.
He's got them.
Give me that.
He's got the meanest handlebar too.
He's got a good look for Philly. He's got the right look. He does.
Yeah.
He does. He would fit in perfectly with it's like perfect. I got a bunch of gamers: Bryce Harper, Chafin, Bryant. I'd have a bunch of guys that are ball game.
He looks older than what he is too. Like he's 31.
Yeah, he's 31. Like he's one of them dudes that looks like he's 50, right? We trust me, Daniel. Me and you know how that is. Tom was just tuning in the chat room. He knows what we mean. Man, you get old quick in this life, don't you? Holy hell!
I know. He's just. I love chasing.
There's nothing you can really do for the defense. Yeah. Like it's you know what I'm saying. It's not like we're going to go out and sign a bunch of Ozzie Smiths to shore up the defense. Like that is what it is. You just got to hope they play better defensively. You're hoping that signing Chris Bryant takes care of some of that. He can play some third base and some left field for you. You don't have to play Alec Boehm at third all the time. You can get Alec Boehm the DH. You can play Ronald Torres at third base if you want to. Stuff like that. So you can now, all right, Torres is in the lineup, hitting down towards the bottom of the lineup, but is a really good defensive player there for me. While Boehm gets the DH or whatever. And that's going to help the defensively.
And correction, he played for the Cubs, not Arizona.
No, Chafin started his career though with Arizona.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm saying,
I was saying, I said, remember he did a lot of that.
Yeah.
I said he's been a good reliever for about 6 or 7 years now, and he did most of that at the beginning of his career with Arizona, and then went to the Cubs in last year and was traded to the Athletics at the deadline. But yeah, I mean, if you can be a guy that's got an ERA, a relief pitcher with an ERA around 3, pitching in that ballpark in Arizona, you've got some good stuff. You know what I mean? You've got some really good stuff. So it made it even more impressive what Randy Johnson did there for years. How you win in Cy Young Awards. Him and remember Brandon Webb had a few good years out there in Arizona where he was like one of the best pitchers in baseball. You're like, how are you fucking lighting it up like that in Arizona? I guess it helps to go to San Diego and play in a place like that. But
even that 1 year, what was it? Right before they traded, when we traded them, Sean Padilla was doing okay for him, and then he came over here and had that one all-star year for the Phillies.
Yeah, he looked really good. You thought you got like a gem, like because he was just kind of like a guy in that Kurt Schilling deal, from Arizona. He's from Nicaragua. You're like, when the hell? Like they play baseball there? Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like really, he was just that you usually sign a lot of these international guys at like 16 years old, right? They go into the places like the Dominican, Venezuela, all these places. They sign these kids at 16. I think he was signed at like 21 years old or something. Like he was an older prospect when they signed him. And yeah, there was a couple years there early on where you're like, hey, like we might have found a gem. He had a great fastball, that really good breaking ball to back it up, and he was an all-star in 2002. You thought, oh, we might have somebody here. And then he just wasn't anything really after that. The most disappointing year, if you think back around that time, there was a lot of high expectations for 2004. We were opening up the new ballpark, right? And that was a team that not just like us in Philly, but Sports Illustrated had that 04 team, that 04 Phillies team predicted to be a playoff team. The Mets were supposed to have a down year. They thought the Phillies were going to go win 90 games and be the team to beat in the NL East that year. It was supposed to be a playoff team. And when you look at our rotation that year, I mean, I guess we didn't have like a legit ace, but Kevin Millwood, Brett Myers, Randy Wolf, Vicente Padilla, Eric Milton. On paper, that looked like a pretty damn good rotation going into the year. It should have been a really good rotation. And Brett Myers had an ERA over 5. Randy Wolf got hurt. Vicente Padilla was garbage. Kevin Millwood it was our best pitcher, I believe. And you were like, okay, great. But like, what's that doing for me? Eric Milton was the second best pitcher. But it just it was one of those years where everything on paper looked like it was supposed to be so much better than it was. Kind of has that feel for me. Like that's not a bad comparison, I think, with it.
No, and there's no news yet on Chafin where he's going. It just says that the Mets are interested in Chafin and Josh Hader.
Well, the Mets are going for it. The Mets are going for everything. This is why it's even more important for you to go out and do something. You got to go out and get something. They just signed Max Scherzer, so you got to go improve your lineup now. But you got to go try to sign Chris Bryant, maybe even Schwarber. Give yourself some,
You want to know what team I'm disappointed in? Which you would think that they try to be making as much moves as possible, but I haven't heard anything lately. Is the Angels? Like, I know they made the moves before the lockout. Like, they got, I believe they brought in Noah Syndergaard, but other than that, they really haven't made too much noise. And you would think that they wouldn't be.
Yeah, that's a weird situation too. Like,
yeah, especially with them having Mike Trout. What was it? They're the ones that got Trey Turner.
They've got Ohtani. Right? They've got Trout. They've got Joe Madden as manager, right? You would think like you want to go out and that's always been a weird situation though. They haven't been able to have pitching there forever.
But you had Trout. He of course he is the best player in MLB. But then he gets hurt last year, and then Ohtani becomes the MVP. So essentially, you have two MVPs, yet you can't make a postseason at all. And they did okay without Trout, but it's like you got to go all in. I feel like they have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. They're like, okay, we got Mike Trout. That should do enough just to get us in. And then now they have Ohtani, and they're like, oh, okay, we got them. We get both of them back. We don't need to sign anybody hitter-wise. And it's like, oh, yeah, you got Noah Syndergaard, but he's coming off of a year-long injury. You don't know what you're going to get from him. And you got more holes than that to where just those guys are going to get you to the postseason because that division is tough. You got the Astros, you got the Oakland Athletics, you got the Mariners.
Oakland's always really solid.
Yeah.
Although Oakland's going to have a down year this year. Oakland's going to be one of the worst teams in baseball. Yeah. Remember, Bob Melvin left to go take the San Diego job, and part of that was Oakland realized they needed to shed salary cap, and they still are. Oakland, if you want to talk about ways to improve the team, Oakland's got quite a few trade chips, quite a few guys that they're trying to shed salary and trade. And if we talked about trading Mick Abel and Bryson Stott, that might be the thing. Although, we talk about up the middle. Bryson Stott, you might be in a position if you go sign Chris Bryant and you sign a guy like Chafin, to go along with a Schwarber or something like that. Now you're in a position where Bryson Stott pretty much has to play shortstop for you because you need to have like a rookie, like an inexpensive contract like that. And I'm cool with that too. I want to be able to see what that kid has. Fuck that. If I can sign Chris Bryant and I can sign Kyle Schwarber, great. I've made enough of a splash with my offense where I can afford to try to play him at shortstop and not have to worry about Trevor Story now. Especially if that helps me sign Chafin or whatever I got to do there. But yeah, I think Stott I'm excited to see because I think he's MLB ready now. I'll trade Mick Abel in a New York minute. I'll trade Mick Abel and Alec Boehm to the A's for any player that they like. Who are you trying to get rid of? They got Olsen, I think his name is. The guy that was in the home run derby last year. They're trying to get rid of him. I think they're trying to get rid of both their first baseman and their third baseman. They got a pitcher they're trying to get rid of.
Olsen and Carpenter. Or Chapman. Yep. Chapman, that's what it is.
Chapman. Matt Chapman. That's who. Yeah, Chapman. Olsen and Chapman.
Yep.
They're trying to get rid of Olsen and Chapman, and then they go along with, I believe, one of their pitchers. I'll start a deal with Mick Abel and Alec Boehm for either Chapman or Olsen. You can give me either one. Which one are we talking about here? I'll take either one and plug them right into my lineup, and that's a good deal. That's an improvement from what we've had. Matter of fact, let's see. Let me look that up real quick. Olsen and Chapman and see exactly what you'd have there, contract-wise, everything. Because that's a possibility. We talk about free agency. Great, I can go sign a Chris Bryant, and then Bryant can play left field and DH, and Chapman can play third base for you, full time, and therefore you don't have to worry about Alec Boehm.
I'm looking at the depth chart right now. You got Realmuto at center, Hoskins at first. You got Segura at second, Bohm at third, Gregorius shortstop. You got Matt Vlerin at left field and center field. You got Bryce Harper at right field, and then Reese Hoskins at DH. But then you got like John Camargo. You got and Garrett Stubbs as the backup catcher. They need to bring in a lot of pieces, especially on the bench.
Yeah.
So that they can use
Definitely.
them. And then they got Wheeler, Nola, Ranger Suarez, Kyle Gibson, and Hans Krausch as their starting five right now. Corey Nebel is the closer. Then you got Alvarado, Brogdon, Conrad, Sir Anthony Dominguez coming off that injury, and Bailey Falter, of course. So I think it's paramount that they bring in some bats and some relievers, because I'm okay with that starting rotation to start the year.
I'm with you. I would like I said, everything starts with me for Chris Bryant. If I'm making a deal with the A's, I'd rather have Olsen over Chapman. I think I'm staying away from Chapman.
Okay, yeah.
He hit 210 last year. I know he hits a ton of home runs, but man, that guy would be frustrating in this line. I mean, he's just I don't need that. Olsen's intriguing. Olsen's a first baseman, the big, strong kid, bats lefty, hit 271 a year ago and 111 RBIs.
I will say this, though, is that Chapman plays third base. He hits home runs. He does have a low average, but he's really good at defense.
He's a very good defensive third baseman, which, to your point, it's maybe that's where you improve defensively and you say, I'll bite the bullet offensively. If I sign Chris Bryant, right, that makes me good enough offensively where maybe now Chapman can be a guy that really shores up things that I need defensively. And, that's going to be huge for this team. Two areas you needed to improve, and you got both.
Because you take away, of course, 2020, which was the shortened year, which he still had 10 home runs. He had 14, 24, 36, and then 27. He had 27 last year. He did hit 210.
And again, playing in Oakland, another place where hitting home runs isn't easy. You come to Philly, that 27 turns into 30 just because you can add a few extra home runs just because you're playing here. Maybe it's a little bit easier to hit 240 instead of hitting 210 because you're in a place like this.
So say you don't get Chris Bryant, you could get Chapman, and Chapman, I believe, he's only 28. So it's not he's still within that young to like middle age to where you can probably get him, have him for a while. Like I would be fine with either. I would say that Chris Bryant.
I need both. To be honest, I want both because Bryant for me, if I go get Chapman in that trade, Chapman can play third base full time. Bryant can play left field full time while also DHing whenever he's not in left field. And then you could also say, hey man, let's fuck around with you at first base and see what happens there because we might have a long term filling up for you there.
And Bryant plays outfield, of course.
That's what I'm saying. Bryant's going to play. At the very least, Chris Bryant can play left field for you. And that would be a huge upgrade for us for him to play left field and, be able to, put up the numbers that he does play in left field. I think you actually become all the way around offensively and defensively. You become a much better team if Chapman's playing third base for you defensively and then Bryant's playing left field for you. You look really good. I'd even be, Olsen's coming off a phenomenal year, and I think it would take a lot to get him. But how about this? I mean, he hit 39 homers a year ago while hitting 271.
Yeah.
6'5", 230, big, strong kid. Man. Here's his 2018, he hit 29 homers. 2019, he hit 36 homers. And then last year, he hit 39 homers. And in the pandemic shortened season, he hit 14 homers in 60 games. So, man, boy, does that look good. Boy, do him and Bryce look good together, hitting in a lineup, both of those guys from the left side of the plate. Again, I think if I couldn't get Schwarber, maybe I visit the idea of trying to trade for Olsen sort of thing.
Yeah. And just like I just said, he's 27, so he is young. He was the former first-round pick. And then he had 24 homers, 29, 36. He had 14 in 2020 in 60 games. So he plays a lot of games.
Got a lot of pop. Oh, man, that would be pretty. Think about how sexy that is. Him and Harper back to back. Woo!
Yeah.
Is that, hey, and you know what? To get him, here's my proposed trade to the A's, and this might work. You could do something like you start with Mick Abel. It's Mick Abel, Alec Boehm, and probably like Rafael Marchand. You know what I mean? Like the catching prospect that a lot of people seem to be high on. That probably gets it done. Abel, Boehm, and Rafael Marchand probably gets that deal done.
And we got Tom chiming in. Come on, Phil. 6 teams make the postseason. We better make it. LOL.
Got to do something.
They need to make the moves to do it. And
yep.
you got this couple week gap to where we're going to see a lot of signings in that frame, because between now and April 7th, like 3-4 weeks, you got that between training camp. You're going to see a lot of signs. You might see players take a shorter deal worth a little less just to get into spring training, just so they can get their work in before the regular season. You might see that, or it might be the opposite. You might see them wait and then use the regular season as their spring training, because they're trying to get the money. But if the Phillies were smart, they just throw out extra money, because they're already doing it. You might as well do it just to ensure that you get who you want. Like,
you almost put your hand for it. You can't let the Mets get this much better.
Yeah.
The Braves are the defending fucking champs, for God's sakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are you going to let the Mets get this much better? The Braves are already really fucking good, and you're just going to sit with your thumb up your ass and not do shit. That's not why Dave Dombrowski came here. I could have let Matt Klentak sit with his thumb up his ass and not do shit. You know what I'm saying?
How well do you think the Braves do if Freddie Freeman leaves?
Oh, the Braves. I mean, how do you let Freddie Freeman leave? How in the fuck do you let that guy leave? He's like the Chipper Jones of your franchise now, right? Like, if there's one guy that's not allowed to leave, it would be him. That would be like Chipper Jones leaving in his prime. You can't let that dude leave. You do whatever you do to have to sign him. That's all. I can't believe. And now they're talking about the Dodgers. Forget about the Yankees, right? But I mean, the Dodgers. If you let a National League rival, one of your biggest rivals for the World Series, come in and steal him away from you, oh my God. How are you a Braves? I know so many Braves fans down here in Florida. Oh my God! Like the fuck?
I know.
You can't go win a World Series and then let him leave. That is unacceptable.
I know exactly how they're going to paint it if he leaves. They're going to be like, "That's fine. We're getting Acuna back. He'll just go into outfield, and then we'll dabble Austin Riley at first base." I guarantee you, that's what their thought process will be.
No, I get it. And I guess they're looking at it like when the Cardinals, let Albert Pujols walk. But still, the difference for me there is I don't like Albert Pujols wasn't like – he was a great player there, but like he didn't have like that heart and soul type. It would be like letting Derek Jeter leave from the Yankees, right? It's just different. Like Freeman's got that like I'm the captain of this team sort of feel to him. And when you're that guy, like how the hell is like how is this a thing? Like even the Cubs are talking about re-signing Anthony Rizzo just because of that's what he was to that organization. That's what he meant to that team, that organization, and everything there. The only reason they traded him is because you're so bad. You got to at least try to get something for him. But even they're like, hey, let's think about re-signing. It'd be like for me, the Braves getting rid of Freeman would be like the Yankees getting rid of Jeter, the Mets getting rid of David Wright. There's just certain guys like Jose Reyes was a great player for the Mets too. Different though. You can get rid of Reyes, it's fine. You can't get rid of David Wright. He's the heart and soul of everything that you are. It would have been like us getting rid of Chase Utley. Before like the very end, like at the end, like we had no choice. We knew he was so bad. He was getting to a point where he wasn't the same guy. The knees were kind of an issue. So you trade him and get what you can for him. Let him go somewhere where he can compete and try to win at the end of his career. But like that would have been like letting him walk in free agency in like 2009. We won a World Series. Here you go. Chase is a free agent. Like how the hell is that a thing? Or Jimmy being a free agent. Like it just. There's certain guys in your organization that are the heart and soul that just mean way too much to what the image of what you the image of your team, the image of what you are. How in the hell are they going to sit there and market themselves as the world champs and Freddie Freeman's not a part of that marketing? That's just weird to me. But I don't know if the Yankees come knocking with $300 million. Do the Braves have a counter offer? Ted Turner doesn't own the Braves anymore, right? Ted Turner had the deepest pockets in it's Ted Turner. He can pay whatever he wants. He owns fucking Turner Broadcasting, for God's sake. But Turner, they don't own the Braves no more. That's not the thing. That's not necessarily what you're not dealing with that.
I think the Braves were positioned where they kind of are like 50%. They know that that this could happen, and then they went and made moves for it in place. But even still, even if you have a contingency plan, you can't lose a guy like Freddie Freeman. He's like your guy, and especially after you just won the World Series. You literally just won the World Series. He's been the guy that's been there through this kind of drought that they were having a little bit before they got a lot better making moves and drafting. And then now you're just going to just bait after winning the World Series on him. Like, come on now.
If your plan is, we had a contingency plan, so we're cool with him leaving. If part of your plan, your long-term plan was allowing Freddie Freeman to leave in free agency, I question your long-term plan. But I mean, they did just win a World Series, so who are we to question it? But I mean, I don't. That's nuts to me.
It is, but I think we will transition to the next topic. Of course, we're going to talk about the Sixers and that ugly game against the Nets on Thursday.
Oh, see, I heard Tom's still here because you're one of those overreactors that he's gonna lose his mind about.
Well, no, I've been kind of like hinting at this whole time since the trade. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the trade. I love the fact that we got Harden. Harden's a beast, and he's going to be great for this team. But I've always had this. I even mentioned it several times to you and a bunch of my friends that there's always that what if with that bench. Like, I do not like the bench at all. I feel like it's non-existent. And I feel like we need that one guy that we can at least count on to come in and score, because we're not going to be able to rely on 75, 80 points from Maxey, Harden, and Embiid. And I don't want Embiid to have to carry the team game to game. Like the past couple of games, Harden and Maxey have been under 20 points. And we did win against the Bulls because Embiid scored 42. But it's like we've had that Bulls number. Embiid scored 42, but I don't want him to have to shoot 20-plus games. I hope they can write it. But, like, you can't continue to be this way and only expect 10 to 15 points from your bench game to game. I think at least if you could get 20 to 25, that'd be more consistent. And then go into the playoffs and at least have that guy or two, which it might be working on it now because Jordan looks like he's playing well on the bench, and then Gorgas Deng has played well. But the Nets came into that game and just shot great. Kyrie Irving played like balls out. Their shooting was just twice as better than us. Harden was forcing shots. Embiid did well, but Maxey only had 7 shots, which I was like, why is he not shooting at all? It was just a piss poor game from the Sixers. And I hope it's just that one dud that they had, but why have it against the Nets? It was a perfect prime thing. Ben Simmons came in, got booed the hell out of it. It was so loud when he got booed. That was great, but then it quieted down once the Sixers started playing and got behind by like 20 plus. It was just the worst case scenario on Thursday.
Hold on one second.
No problem.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. I was having you carry the show for a minute. Good. Awesome. Now, Villanova won, right?
Villanova won. They
got the Arizona game coming on. I'm watching the Bucks Warriors at the moment. The Warriors went from like one of the better teams in basketball to now like one of the teams that are struggling. That's fun. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Bucks, you look at the Nets, the Heat, those are going to be the teams that are probably our main competition come playoff time. I don't know. Anytime you got Durant, you got a chance, like Durant, or, they got, but I think when we're playing up to our full potential, when we see these guys playing at their peak together, at their best together, Harden, Embiid and Maxey, we're going to be hard to beat. We have the ability to be or play like the best team in basketball. I guess we haven't seen it consistently yet, but it's only been 5 games together or whatever. But need more from Maxey than what we had the other night. I mean, he had that. Maybe you just call it a youth moment. You know what I mean? Where it's this is still the growing pains you're going to go through with him. But in transition, he had that pull-up three that he airballed. And you're just like, bro, it's a wide-open pull-up three. He airballed it. You remember that play that I'm talking about in transition?
Yeah.
And that was like, I remember after that shot, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a long day. Like, this is, that's not good. You can't have that. Like, it's.
And then insult to injury, the Celtics are playing well right now. The Celtics.
Yeah, although I don't know if they would scare me in a 7-game series.
No, but we got the Celtics, the Bulls. They're only half game behind us, and then we're only
the Bucks.
A game behind of the Bucks. So right now we're the 3 seed. So you would have to go to Milwaukee in the second round, which isn't going to be a easy thing for them.
No, but you know what? But that would be like you go beat Milwaukee in a 7-game series. That's like revenge from last year, and on top of it, it's like. Now you just proved like, hey, now we're coming. Like now you got to come beat us, because we're the best team. Like that makes a statement. You go into the Eastern Conference Finals with a statement win of a series against a team like the Bucks.
I won't lie though. I would be intrigued by seeing the Heat play the Nets in the first round, 1-8.
I don't know. I don't think that's scary. The Nets are too hit and miss.
I don't know. Well, they're hit and miss, but that's because of injuries. But now they got damn near everybody back other than Harris and Simmons. But you saw how that bench did. That's what scares me. That bench has 3-4 guys that can score 10-plus points for the Nets. And they're getting the production from Seth Curry and, of course, Durant and Irvin when he can play on the road. He was pouring on the point. So it's like they could play, like, if they stay like that, they could be the scary team on the road. And then because they're on the road already, being the 8th seed, it allows Kyrie Irving to play more of the games. So that's the only thing that scares me with them. But they could do damage to where they could upset a team like the Heat, which is a team that plays well against the Sixers. They could upset them and do the Sixers a favor.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know if there's like a team I look at that I'm scared of or say like, oh damn, I hope this team. I guess Milwaukee's the team I'm like, I hope they get they get eliminated before we face them, sort of thing. But I know that probably won't happen. What the fuck? Yeah, this is a weird fucking name here.
Yeah, that's the one I talked about before. But what happened was the Sixers lost against the Nets, and they got to make up ground if they even want to get to that 1 seed, because I feel like they're going to be within that 1-4 range. Yeah, they need to start winning again to avoid dropping to 4 or 5. I think if we drop any more, it would be a letdown for the city, especially after the Harden trade. And then the Nets will hold on to that 8 seed. As long as the Nets stay within that range that they're in, they're going to have to do those playing games. First, they're going to have to play the Raptors, and the Raptors are hot right now with the team that they have.
The Raptors are a team where the Raptors are a really good team. They're kind of in the conversation like the Cavs are for me. You know what I mean? Like, good team. You don't really feel like they're maybe good enough to win it, but they're good enough to make some noise in the playoffs and really give you some problems.
Yeah, and then I just want to mention this right away. How about the Minnesota Timberwolves? And it looks like they're gonna make the playoffs if they can at least win the playing game. They're 7 right now. They're only a game and a half back of the Nuggets. I'd like to see Minnesota make it because they're one of the teams, kind of like the Kings, that have been just sucking for the past 10, 15 years.
And they've kind of built that. They've kind of built that slowly, but have gotten it to a point where, like, you know what? Respect on the way they've done it. First of all, they have no choice because you're Minnesota. They're not going to go sign a free agent. Nobody's coming there to play it for the fucking T-Wolves. They got the D'Angelo Russell turning into a solid player after like everything that happened at the start of his career, where he's really immature and he's all this. He's turned into a solid player for them. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns is a stud. Anthony Edwards, man, maybe the best draft pick for them since Vince Carter. So I mean, maybe the most impactful draft pick since Vince Carter, because Karl Anthony Towns has always been a good player. But like Anthony Edwards is explosive. Finally, somebody that they add to that gives them an extra dynamic that they didn't have before.
Towns is the guy. He's going to get you 20 and 12, and then he's surprisingly he's a great 3-point shooter at the center spot. So he creates a mismatch for teams. But then I'm not going to say he was a great signing, but it just seems like wherever he goes, the team always makes the playoffs, and that's Patrick Beverley. They bring Beverley in. He's a guy that teams hate because of how he plays defense and how he's always physical. But it's like wherever he goes, the team that he's on always makes the playoffs, and he plays a prominent role in that team for defense wise, and he just gets those like 5 to 8 points a game. He plays defense. He locks down the other player, and he adds that toughness and veteran experience to that team.
Yeah. I think every championship team needs like a guy that's an elite defender that can come off the bench and give them the 30 minutes and do dirty works types. And he's just that guy. So that's why like he'll bounce around the league from great team to great team to great team.
Which is funny.
Jay Crowder's a guy like that, in Phoenix. What's his name with the Heat? Is a guy like that. Andre Iguodala was a guy like that for after he left the Sixers. He was a guy that would bounce around from and be that guy that with the Warriors when they went through their championship run. He was kind of that dirty work guy that came in and in the finals. He was shutting down LeBron and doing things like that to really help, give them the best chance that they could possibly have at winning. Beverly's kind of one of those guys. Lance Stevenson, maybe a guy, same type of thing. So I mean, if anything, he just annoys the shit out of people on the other team, which is good too. It's like one of those guys that you love playing with him, you hate playing against him.
and I'd be wrong if I didn't bring up the fact that the Lakers are just bombing right now. The 3-7 in the past 10 games. They are out of the playoffs right now. They're at the 9 spot, but they're 4.5 back. And the Pelicans are moving up. They're only like 2 games back of the Lakers there. Right now, the Lakers would have to play the Clippers, and then the T-Wolves would play the Pelicans. And the Pelicans made that move to get McCollum, and he's been playing lights out on the Pelicans. They haven't been winning a lot. They've been, I think, 50-50 since getting him because of a couple of injuries, but I could see the situation where the Pelicans could be a team that could just sneak in because of the play-in at that 8th spot. I could see a scenario though with the Clippers and the T-Wolves at 7 and 8.
This is the guy we were talking about. Joe Davis is doing he's doing the interview of Mick Cronin, the UCLA coach, before the Pac-12 championship game here. This is it's going to be on Fox. This is I was saying. This is their new golden boy. This is like when they hired Joe Buck at 25 to be their top guy for everything. Joe Buck saw the writing on the wall there. He realized, I'm not the young cat no more, right? I'm kind of like the old veteran that if they can get Joe Davis to do the same job I do for a few $1 million less, it's good business on their end. And Joe Davis is a really good young professional in the industry that seems to have a ton. Anytime you could take over for Vince Scully, and it's like a seamless transition, and people are like, "Hey, I really like this guy. He's really good." You must be damn fucking good at your job as a play-by-play announcer if you can take over Dodger baseball from Vince Scully and make it a pretty seamless thing where viewers are like, "I like this guy. He's good. I can live with him." Hey, you must be good. I'm with you. I'm sold.
We got the ACC final on right now. Duke is losing to Virginia Tech 38-31 with 3 minutes left. And then you got the Conference USA final, UAB's.
Yeah, I'm done betting on everything for the night, by the way. Like, I'm just going to enjoy the rest of these games. I'm up over $400. Woo, baby. Let's go. Count my money, baby. Let's count my money. I had 2 different parlays that were going. I had never mind. That's the same deal I saw earlier. I thought the Mets made another deal. Yeah, that's not good. You telling me that we couldn't have made a deal for Chris Bassett? Like all it took was 2 minor league prospects? The fuck? Jesus Christ.
And then let me bring this up a bit because we're actually going through a lot of what we were talking about faster. The Browns acquired Amari Cooper from the Cowboys.
Yeah, that was that was a weird thing.
It was Amari Cooper and a 6th-round pick to the Browns for a 5th and a 6th rounder. So all it really cost
they were just trying to get rid of him. They probably weren't gonna, like. I know people were like, "Oh, Howie, where were you on that one? You really think the Cowboys were going to trade him within the division?" That wasn't happening.
No. If he had become a free agent after being released, they would have run after him, and it would have been a possibility because of that. But no, we're not going to trade for him like that. I was surprised that a team was going to trade for him, but for what the Browns gave up, it's a good move for the Browns, and now they're putting Landry on the trade block. So
are they?
he's he had asked the team to allow him to look for a trade. So,
interesting.
Yeah, so that changes the look of the Browns, and
I'll trade for Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, I would.
Although, I mean, again, though, here's my thing with that. I don't know what's the point of trading for a wide receiver when I don't have a quarterback that can get him the ball. Like, what assets am I giving up for Jarvis Landry? Oh, I give you a 3rd-round pick for him, and then why? So Jalen Hurts can be late. Is he's wide open in the end zone
I think he could give him the ball because he's not the type of player where you got to throw long. That's been the quote unquote thing with Hurts, is throwing the long bar, and Landry's not. He's not a long bar guy. He's a 10 yards and in yards after contact type guy that does that, and it sets up well in the slot when you got a guy like Devontae Smith who can go down. With that, and then that allows you to not have to entertain taking a wide receiver round 1 with one of those 3 picks. Like, we've had all the moves that have been happening this week. I'm sure that we should bring that up. All the trades, of course, and especially a certain guy with Russell Wilson getting traded, Deshaun Watson. Now
he just got cleared today after all that.
He got cleared. He got cleared the other day. Yesterday, he got cleared. It wasn't. I should say he wasn't. It wasn't because they said that he was guilty or not. They had no evidence to go against him.
When I talked about it months ago when it first happened, I was like, the guy's a creep. What he did is creepy. It's just not a crime. Like, it's not a crime for you to hire a private masseuse, and when she is massaging you in your house or wherever the hell you have her come to give you your private massage, he's trying to make a move on her and get her to do some sexual acts for him. It's not like he raped her. He didn't bend her over and rape her. Like, okay, that's a crime. He's trying to make a move on her, and some dudes are creeps about it. They're like, oh, look at my dick, but there was no crime there. Like, nothing technically that he did was criminal. I think it's creepy. I think he's a little bit of a fucking scumbag for it, but there's no crime. You can't charge people for being a scumbag. That's not a felony. It's not, it's just not something that they were ever going to be able to charge him for.
We got Tom chiming in. Do we keep our 3 picks?
No. Because Howie, it's Howie. Howie's about assets. Howie's an assets guy. He'll find a way to trade a pick to add an extra 1st-round pick next year.
Yeah. It depends on the scenario. It depends on what happens. Because I'm the type of guy where I trade it for a quarterback, but I don't think with what's going on that we're going to get a quarterback. Because I don't think Watson's out of the story. Wilson was traded. There's already no one that I like that I trade in the draft to get rid of a first to move up.
Fletcher Cox and a 1st-round pick this year. Fletcher Cox and one of this year's 1st-round picks to somebody for a 4th-round pick this year and a 1st-round pick next year.
That's what I entertain, is if somebody offered that if they wanted to move up and get a 1st from us, and then they give us a 1st next year, and then something this year, like a 2nd or a 3rd. Because that's usually what
Fletcher Cox isn't going to get us I know Eagles fans aren't going to hear this, but Fletcher Cox isn't going to get us a first round pick or something like that. He'll get you a mid round pick at best. But if you package Fletcher with like a first, like one of those first round picks that we're talking about, you then get a lot more back in return. You could really maximize your return there.
And the Chargers are interested in him. They're talking about acquiring with him, so there could be something working there to where we can.
I would be like Fletcher Cox in one of our firsts for a fourth and a first next year. Like I'm demanding, like I need a first round pick next year out of that deal.
What first are you getting rid of? 15,
the worst one. The worst one, of course. And then if they demand that, no, we need one of the better ones. Okay, well, we can talk. But I'm going to try to get rid of the lowest of the first round picks before I negotiate any of the other, of course.
I want to get rid of 19, but I know that to get the deal done, maybe it would cost the 16. That way we could keep 15 and 19, get rid of that. But then we have a first next year, and then we just have to hope that whoever trades for the pick doesn't do as well, so we can.
Can I give you like a first and Fletcher Cox for Austin Eckler? Is that a thing, or like is that like out of the question?
At this rate, the Chargers are like married to him. They're married to Austin Eckler, especially.
Are they really?
He was the number 2 running back last year. He had over 20 touchdowns.
That's why you might trade him now. That's why you're like, let's sell high, right? That's the type of move that you make. You sell high on especially on a running back.
I don't even think
is he going to have another year like that? He'll probably never have another year like that. I'm just trying. Listen, I'm just trying to be optimistic as an Eagles fan. I want Austin Eckler.
I would take him in a heartbeat with how he plays. And the funny thing is he had a potential out, and apparently they didn't do anything with that. So he's only making $7 million against the cap. He's cheap. So I'm waiting for them to re-sign him, because if they don't re-sign Austin Eckler, I'd be losing my shit as a Chargers fan with how much production that he puts in to that offense to help out Herbert.
I'm just looking at the trade rumors here. The Bills, Steelers, and the Chargers interested in a trade for Fletcher Cox.
Yeah, they are interested in him. I'm not surprised there, because any team that is in the playoffs or close to the playoffs could add him in as a big body up the middle, and he makes that team better. I feel like we're in the position where we want to kind of get rid of that contract. We have a player right there, and Javon Hargrave.
He's going into and Milton Williams, the rookie that we drafted last year. He's probably going to have a more significant role this year.
Yeah.
And he's going into the year 6 of a 7-year extension. Remember, we signed Fletcher to a 7-year extension in 2016 or whatever it was. He's going into year 6. So all the guaranteed money will be gone. You know, this is kind of like the last year a team really needs to worry about paying him. And it's just, you're not going to sign him to another extension after his contract's over here anyway. So your options are trade him when you can get at least something for him, or at some point he walks in free agency and you're not getting shit. And I know, like, for Eagles fans, a lot of us are so nostalgic. It's, you can't trade Fletcher Cox. Like, it's not 2018 no more. Like, it's just not.
Well,
like,
this is the last year of his deal.
And he's got $16 million. Like, what's the I think there's an option year on it next year, but it's the last guaranteed year. Right, the last year that any team's forced to pay him money.
No. It's the last year of his contract. He becomes a free agent in 2023.
I just read this here though. Hold on.
I'm looking at the contract breakdown right now. He's an unrestricted free agent.
I've got it. The article I'm reading here says he's currently in the 6th year of his 7-year contract. That includes. So I guess what it is, it would be like a team option, but no team's going to pick up that option, sort of thing. So realistically, he's a free agent after the year unless a team picks up that option, which you're not going to pay him $16 million or whatever the hell it is.
And I believe they've already decided not to pick up the option. So
correct, right.
So this is last year. So you want to get something now. You want to get something now. You don't want to go in, have him known that he could leave and then you could see the money, but you want to at least see if you could get something back for him. and
People
get a year ahead.
People are going to bitch about a fifth-round pick or something. What else are you getting, Daniel? And Eagles fans are going to be like, a fifth-round pick? I can't believe we traded him for a fifth-round pick.
But then you trade him, and then you clear up all that cap that he got, and then you get off of the huge contract.
Correct. Which, knowing Howie does that, setting up all this cap space for next year when he can get rid of Jalen Hurts and all of a sudden go after a big money quarterback or something.
Because look into this year, where we came into this year, I think that we saved $15 million from last year, and we didn't even use that. We didn't use that $15 million to carry it over to this year, and we really haven't used that much of that money. And I think we are still in the 20 or 30 million under the cap, and we got the draft coming up in over a month. So there's still moves that can be made that we can add, but we're still good with the salary cap.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I like a couple of receiver prospects. I like any of the kids from Ohio State.
Chris Olave.
I really like Olave. Yeah, I think he's really, really solid. I like any of the kids from Ohio State. I like one of the defense. I don't care what position. I just want a defensive playmaker. I need a disruptor. I need a guy that's a game disruptor. I think when you look around the NFL now, Daniel, you look at guys like T.J. Watt. You look at guys like Tyrann Mathieu. You're less worried about the position that they play, and you're more worried about the type of impact they have defensively. Right? Do they disrupt the game to a significant, substantial level? And that's where like Von Miller, who's the young kid for Arizona that came into his own this year. That was a first-round pick last year that played like 4 different positions. Isaiah Simmons. Guys that I'm less worried about what positions you're playing defensively for me, and I'm just more worried about the impact that you're having. Can you disrupt the game? And I need a guy like that. And I think there's some guys that can. I think there's quite a few defensive prospects in this draft that can do that. Nakobe Dean is a guy I look at and go, wow, yeah, he can really disrupt the game defensively that.
What was that? The defensive lineman from Georgia. If you could trade,
Jonathan David, any of the guys from Georgia. I mean, oh my God, you could give me any of them. Holy hell!
Yeah, if you could trade Fletcher Cox,
Nakobe Dean and Jonathan Davis are both from Georgia,
and you could take them 15 and 16 if they're both available, and be set with a trade Fletcher. You'd replace Fletcher Cox with Jordan Davis, and then you put in Nakobe Dean at linebacker. That adds a lot to that defense. And assuming that they're going to pan out like they should, because all these Georgia defensive players have, for the most part, panned out. And then you still have that pick at 19 that you can use at whatever you want. But, of course, I know some people want to look at corner opposite of
Sauce Gardner. I mean, I love a couple of the corners. I love Derek Stingley from LSU. I love Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati. Woo, Gardner is he's fun. He's a guy that you love, and then you love the name, right? I mean, you gotta love a guy named Sauce. You gotta love it. All types of nicknames that can work with that, right? So you gotta love that. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that. That's a guy, again, not worried about the position, just worried about a guy that can disrupt the game defensively for me. You could do that at the defensive back position, sure.
Yeah, the best case scenario for the Eagles would be is if they did use all 3 picks, that they were able to get Davis, Dean, and Garner. I know it's highly unlikely, but if you were able to do that, that'd be a huge.
I think we're more likely Nakobe Dean will be there. Nakobe Dean's a guy that will have a chance. I think 2 of
the guys will be there. I don't think all 3 there.
I don't think Jordan Davis will be there. Trayvon Walker might be there. The edge guy, one of the edge rushers from Georgia, he might be there. Yeah. Olave and Garrett Wilson will be there from Ohio State, the receivers. And keep an eye on that Greek kid from Purdue. What's his name? George Kalafdis or whatever.
George Kalafdis. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, they call him the Greek freak or whatever. That's what they call him at Purdue. That's a Howie type pick, right? Like all of a sudden, all the guys that are sexy aren't there. All the sexy names, the Jordan Davises and those guys, And a guy like that is a really, really solid prospect, an elite athlete, and he's a disruptor, right? A guy that can disrupt things for you defensively. And we need an edge player that can be disruptive like that. We don't have one. Derek Barnett commits more penalties than he does plays. We
got a guy that makes plays in Josh Sweat. Like he's shown.
Yeah, but even he's like, okay, wait, Josh Sweat wouldn't even see the field in Pittsburgh because guys like T.J. Watt are that fucking good. You know what I'm saying?
What do we expect from Brandon Graham this year? What do you expect?
Nothing.
Nothing. I'd be okay if he just plays. And he's just another body.
Here's some defensive guys to keep an eye on that are all going to probably be there or have a chance to be there when we're picking. You got Trayvon Walker, George Kalafdis, Jermaine Johnson. He's an edge rusher from Florida State. Nakobe Dean, Devin Lloyd. He's the linebacker from Utah. Really good athlete.
He's very solid, yeah.
Yeah, he can cover a lot of ground, sideline to sideline type player. Really love him. Possibly Sauce Gardner's there. So, you're going to have you're going to have some defensive players. Devontae Wyatt's a kind of probably the most of all the Georgia prospects. He's the least talked about, but even he's a really, really good defensive player. And he can play inside and outside. He can play defensive tackle for you. He's 6'3", 300 pounds. He can play defensive tackle or he can play defensive end. Versatile enough and athletic enough to do both. For us, he'd probably play more inside. He's more of a 4-3 defensive tackle, but still, guy talking about playmaker, disruptive. You probably want more of an edge guy because we talked about, we have Milton Williams, we have what's his name, Hargrove, who's going to be a guy that's playing inside. So we have some 4-3 defensive tackles. We prefer some edge guys, but yeah, I mean, you look at a guy like Nakobe Dean, 5'11", 230 pounds. He's not built like your prototypical linebacker, not built like a prototypical defensive end. He's just a guy that goes out there and makes plays for you defensively. Yeah, and that's what I need.
Exactly, and you got linebackers that just tackle in Singleton, Edwards, and Avery, but then you got guys like that I saw signs in like Davion Taylor. Like he's a guy that could go out there, just go sideline to sideline, make tackles. If you could add another guy to it, I'd just cut out that linebacking core, because I think this is the perfect year to break the trend and then to add a linebacker round one that can be that guy up in the middle, call the plays, change the unit on defense, because we've always been a weakness in the past 10 years or so at linebacker. It's time to change that. It's time to focus less on the secondary because we do have bodies in the secondary that can play. I think it's time to work on the linebacking core and to fix that front defensive line. And it's like
also receiver. I think we need to upgrade at receiver. And I don't know if they'll go Olave or Wilson, but a guy that I love is Trey Burks out of Arkansas. Oh man, I love me a big, strong, physical receiver like that. And he's that guy, 6'2", 220. Wants to dominate you at the line of scrimmage, big, strong, physical type guy. I love that type guy, right? That I love that receiver. For me, Chris Olave, he's 6 foot, $190, whatever. Wilson's tiny, he's 5'11", $180, whatever it is. Great players. I think they're both going to be phenomenal at the next level. But I love that big-bodied, strong, physically dominant receiver. And Trey Burks is that guy, and he'll probably, Wilson and Olave are viewed as slightly better prospects. So he's going to have a better chance to be there as you're picking with your second or third first round pick.
Like JJAW.
Yeah, exactly. Like he should have been. But when you watch Trey Burks play, when you watched him play at Arkansas, my man is that's a bad man right there. He wants to beat you up. He wants to physically dominate you. He wants to kick your ass. He wants you to line up across from him, and he wants to physically dominate you. I love that about it. I want a receiver like that. Need a guy like that. Devontae Smith's finesse, right? Devontae Smith's that Chad Johnson type receiver. Now I need that big, physically strong, dominant guy that can beat you at the line of scrimmage and is just so physically it's an Andre Johnson type. He's really, really hard for a defensive back to get up there and jam and cover. It's going to physically wear you out as a defensive back to have to cover him.
Now, I know this broke a couple of days ago, but of course, this was a big deal to me. Jason Kelsey said that he's going to be back for the Eagles this year, and
That's
the
good.
Eagles are making
always
him,
good.
and they're making him the highest paid center at $14 million.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. That's a little weird to me.
I was thinking about it, and then you go look at players, and he's been one of the top centers ever since he's taken over the spot.
Of course he has. Of course he has. But that's a lot of money to pay a fucking center, homie.
But we've essentially have not paid him that much over the past 6-7 years.
I don't care. I don't care what you got paid over the past however many years. I mean, I really don't. I'm sorry, but that's not how we move there. That's weird. Like Howie's a guy that's cutthroat when it comes to the money and the business side of things, and we're just throwing the dude a bone. That's a little weird to me. But I mean, hey, whatever. It is what it is. Not going to lose sleep over it.
I'm not going to, but I'm sure that they're going to mess with it somehow to make it less. But it's a good sign to know that he's coming back. He's going to come in, plug in at center, especially since Landon Dickerson's going to make left guard his permanent home. And then, of course, you got Mulata left tackle. So that left side of the line is perfectly fine, and it's just the right side with Lane Johnson, who's quietly been with the teams for this long. It hasn't felt that way since he got drafted by Chip Kelly, but I think they're making good moves with the line. I think him re-sign with the team allows you to see if he can find a replacement at center for him. Man, I think he did it for the team because he's always been a team guy there. He's always tried to help the Eagles out, and he was ready to retire. But he actually said he was like, I want to help the team. I want to see if I can help them find somebody this year by playing one last year.
See, I disagree with Ryan here. Knievel, I mean, plenty of guys have been like, they've got closer stuff, and they just start to set up men, and then they transition into a closer role. I don't need a closer that's consistently. That's all nonsense. As a matter of fact, I actually feel the complete opposite because guys like closers are one of those roles where like usually a closer has like a 5-year run where they're like really, really good, right? If they're lucky. Like Eric Gagne had a few good years, right? Like elite closers have like, unless you're Mariano Rivera or Trevor Hoffman, right? Like guys like that don't come around all the time. Closers have these like 4 or 5 years runs where they're really, really good. And then after that, they might still be good, but they're not what they were before. It's like when Billy Wagner came here. Remember we signed Billy Wagner? Oh, what a great signing. Yeah, it's a good signing, but it's not like we were getting the Billy Wagner from 2000. You know what I'm saying? Like 1999 Billy Wagner, way different than 2004 Billy Wagner. Yeah,
we got lucky getting Brad Lidge. He had that one awesome year. We won the even if you go back and look at that year, go look at his ERA that year. Like there was a lot of saves that he had in that 08 year where he was perfect. Where man, that was close. Oh man, woo, gave me a heart attack with that one. It wasn't like he was lights out. He had like an ERA of like 3.48 or something that year. We had him. We had Giles, but of course we sucked, so we didn't need Giles.
Yeah.
So we traded Giles.
Closer is a role. You know what closer is? Look at these organizations like the Cardinals. If you could find a guy that can throw close to 100 miles per hour with electric braking stuff, that doesn't, that's still got a ton of bullets in his arm because he hasn't thrown a ton. That's a guy that you try in the back end of your bullpen. Knievel's the perfect guy. They're like, hey, stepping into the closer role. I don't know what Ryan thinks. We don't have a closer on the roster. So guess what? Knievel's going to be that guy. That's what you signed him for. I really believe that's what they went out and got him for. Hey, you set up for Kenley Jensen there in the Dodgers. You've got, closer type stuff. We know you've got the ability to close games. You've got that mentality. Now here's your chance to go make it happen. That's what they signed him for, 100%. And I'm cool with that. That's fine. Yeah. For me to go sign Kenley Jensen and think that he's going to be the same Kenley Jensen from 5 or 6 years ago is silly. That's not going to be the case. And you're actually more likely to overpay for a guy like Kenley Jensen and then him to come here and completely implode and it to blow up in your face and he blows save after save because he's not, the guy that he was 5 years ago. That's more likely than to happen than I think it is for you to sign him and him to, like be the best closer in baseball sort of thing. So fuck that. I want nothing to do with it.
And then Familia is kind of just like a low risk, high reward.
Yeah, that is exactly what that is. Sure. And he's another guy that's a fireballer that at least has pitched in the back end of a bullpen and has some experience doing it.
Yeah. And then
Archie Bradley, same thing, a guy that has the experience, has pitched all over a bullpen. Unfortunately, he wasn't healthy all of last year, but you really hope he can be healthy this year. He can be a lot more beneficial for you. He can pitch anywhere in your bullpen.
Yeah, and then that's partly why I want to bring in Chafin, because you bring in
Chafin. Oh my God! Imagine how good this. Yeah. Woo! Does this bullpen look really good all of a sudden?
Yeah. Just with all these, with Familia, you got Knievel, Chafin, Bradley. You got guys with experience.
That's all. All a bullpen is about is just having a bunch of solid arms. You don't need to be sexy in the bullpen, right? The bullpen doesn't need to be sexy. I hate when people, I need to go out and get this guy. I don't need to go out and pay, like when we went out and paid Papelbon all that money. I couldn't stand the deal. I know a lot of people here in Philly still love the guy. I couldn't stand the Papelbon deal. I don't need to go be sexy and pay a closer $13 million, especially one that's, the best 5 years of his career are probably over. You know what I'm saying? I don't need sexy in my bullpen. I just need a bunch of solid arms, and I'll find one that can close games consistently.
Guys suck when they come here, period. Then they do great elsewhere. It seems that way in all the Philly sports. It doesn't happen all the time. It happens everywhere else too. Like you're just focusing too much on here.
But our fan base also has part to do with that. And I hate people going to want to hear that. But this is part why we can't have nice things here in Philly, because certain guys come in here and they give everything they have and they play their ass off and they still get booed or whatever. And you're like, Jesus Christ, and it's hard for certain guys to want to. When it comes to free agents, certain guys don't want to sign and commit to contracts for those reasons, because our fan base has a reputation. And I hate it because I agree. You're soft. Suck it up. Stop being a pussy and go play in one of the best sports cities in the country. But that's the reputation that you have, and some guys don't like it, and it hurts your ability to be able to go out and sign certain sexy names. Guys like Harper are going to love playing here. Guys like Chris Bryant are going to love playing here. There's certain guys that you can go sign in certain sports that are going to love playing here. There's also certain guys that aren't.
We got Tom chiming in. Give me Chapman and Bryant. Now, if we really want to spend
I'm with
money,
you, Tom.
bring on Nick.
I'm with you. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep, I'm with you. Me and Tom think the same when it comes to baseball. Chris Bryant, I've been on the Nick Castellanos bandwagon since last year, and now that we have the DH, I think it's an even better signing. And the Chapman, you need an elite defensive. Yeah, at third base is one of the few positions anymore where you're like, hey, having an elite defender is huge. And third base, especially in a lineup like ours where we have enough offense in other positions. If you sign Chris Bryant, you've got enough offense in all the other positions. Having a guy like Chapman that can play Gold Glove third base is fucking huge.
Now, would you have Chapman at third and then Bryant in the outfield?
Absolutely. Chapman plays third, Bryant plays left. Sure. And Castellanos is my DH. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I might even try Castellanos at first. I might even tell Castellanos, hey, grab a glove, start practicing there. You can't be any worse defensively than what Rhys Hoskins is at first. So start working there, and maybe we can work you into the lineup there, and you can play some first base. But I at least know we can DH. At the very least, I've got a full-time DH.
A DH, didn't he play he played right field. So he did.
He does have outfield he can spell Harper when Harper needs a break, and spell Chris Bryant in left whenever Chapman's taking a break and you've got Bryant playing third.
Center,
I could play Bryant in center too. That's true too, Tom. We could play Bryant in center and Nick in left.
I keep forgetting about that. Yeah.
So Tommy, who's your DH? Who do you got DHing? I mean, is Bohm your DH at that point? Is Chapman plays third? Is that what you're hoping to try Bohm at DH and see if he works out?
Well, what Bohm's one knock was his defense. He can hit. He can hit for power.
He can hit. I think Bohm was a guy that used to carry over some of the defensive struggles to the plate, and I think you used to see some of his at bats, where he'd struggle and he'd go through funks. He was carrying over everything that would happen defensively to the plate, and it's really hard to hit when you're overthinking it like that. And maybe just getting him out of the field and saying, "Hey, just go focus on hitting." It might help him. It could. I would think that's where Tommy's going with this because we don't really have anybody else to DH. It would have to be Bohm is where he's coming from.
Yeah, which would work out. That making those 2-3 moves changes this team tremendously on there. And then, of course, I'm always going to say, bring in like I think we need to bring in Chapin. I'm probably the only guys that like bring this.
Yeah,
guy
I would love.
like,
I mean, Chapin for me,
yeah.
like I mean that it really does complete a bullpen that all of a sudden
Yes.
is 180 from one of the worst bullpens in baseball a year ago to probably one of the better ones this year, at least on paper.
Yeah, and I wonder.
But
how
I'm
much
with Tommy.
he's
I'm
gonna
with Tommy. You give me
offer.
those three bats. I mean, how can you complain about having Chris Bryant, Nick Castellanos, and then Chapman? It's you know that makes your lineup. I mean, look how sexy that lineup is. There's not a hole in it.
How do you not
You
bring
love it. You love every bit of
How
it.
do you not? How do you not bring a guy in like Chapman, who last year only made $2.2 million? He barely cost a thing. Bring him in, give him $4 million. For God's sake.
And I would worry about he only hit 210 in the offensively. You know what sells me on him completely? Just I don't even give a fuck about the offense. The fact that we were so bad defensively last year is what sells me on him immediately. Because defense was we need to be better defensively this year. Have to be. It's a must. And all of a sudden you've got a guy at a premier defensive position that can play it at an elite level. And I don't give a fuck if the dude hits $180. I really don't give a fuck. As long as he can play Gold Glove defense at third base, that is a good deal. If I have to give up Rafael Marchand and Mick Abel to go get, or whatever, Mick Abel's probably the centerpiece of that deal. I'm keeping Bryson Stott. I want to see if I can develop him up the middle. I want to see if I can develop him as an up the middle player. Obviously, one of the most important things in baseball is to have up the middle. The Braves. Look how solid the Braves are up the middle. Dansby Swanson's turned into a hell of a player, right? Ozzie Albies is their second baseman, right? Up the middle talent for them, phenomenal. They have Austin Riley playing third, right? Like, look at the blueprint of what they do, and that's what you're trying to get to. Austin Riley, a better two-way player than what Chapman is, but still, what you're talking about, you got to have that offense-defense combination at third base, and we weren't getting that with both.
And Chapman and Olsen, and then Chapman and Olsen on the last year their deals, and then next year is their arbitration.
Getting both of them would be phenomenal. Could you imagine if you got both of them? Get Chapman and Olsen. Oh my God, my nipples are getting hard just thinking about it.
Right now, Chapman's making $10 million for the year.
That's still a good deal.
Making 12.
That's still a good deal for a guy that's going to probably hit you close to 30 homers and play Gold Glove defense at third base.
Yeah. That would be huge if you could do that.
The thing I would say why I'm out, like, I would love to get both Chapman and Olsen, but then I realize I probably have to give up Bryson Stott, Marchand, Mick Abel, a lot, and even a couple more pieces. You know what I'm saying? Like, Olsen's going to demand a lot because he's coming off a really good year.
I've noticed ever since Bohm has come into the league, he doesn't swing the same way on every one of his swings.
I don't give a fuck. See, Ryan doesn't understand baseball. Listen, none of that matters. Depending on where a pitch is at, you've got pitches that break 2 feet, and you're over here like, oh, well, he didn't. Sometimes he swings one-handed and sometimes he swings two-handed. Vladimir Guerrero used to swing with no hands and still hit home runs on both sides in the dirt. Okay, so I don't give a fuck about it. That's not my concern. Bowman, what I look at with hitting is approaches, and Bowman has a professional approach. He's a guy that'll work the count. Can give you a good at bat.
It's mental with him.
Right. It does seem like it's a very mental thing with Alec Bohm, but get him out the field and let him just focus on hitting. And I'm at least willing to give him another year as a full-time DH where you don't have to worry about fielding at all. So get the fuck out of your head and just go up there and worry about being the best hitter you can be. And maybe he turns into a guy that can hit 270 and hit me 25 homers. And at least he's a serviceable, solid offensive player in this league. You're something for me. You're at least something.
Yeah. Yep, and that's why these next couple of weeks are going to be very fun, and they better be making the moves that they need to, because if we don't get one guy, say we have all these guys that we're linked to, if we don't get any of them, that's a major failure.
Oh no, that's ridiculous. fuck. I mean, like I said, the whole point of Dombrowski coming here is you're going for it, right? You're going for it. That you need to build a World Series winner here. It's like when we signed Pat Gillick and you knew here's the window. We've got about 3 or 4 years. Got to do it. Make it happen right fucking now, or it's not going to happen. I mean, that's where you're at. Great. I can worry about building the future after we win that World Series. But I've got Bryce Harper in his prime right now. I've got Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, JT Realmuto. Those guys are in their prime right now. If Chris Bryant comes, again, he's maybe got another 2 or 3 years in his prime. All right. I need to go win that now. I've got from now until 2025. That maybe is my window. Like, that's it. There's your window. Go make it happen. And I will be aggressive as I possibly can be in that window.
Don't be like the Angels and waste your $400 million prized outfielder Mike Trout because they're not.
And for what? What do they like? It's not like they can brag and be like, "Oh, look at how great our farm system is. We've got 7 top 100 prospects." They don't even have shit to brag about there.
No.
What the hell have you sucked for the past 5 years? You haven't built shit.
And the Phillies have been almost better than them each year with less.
At least the Phillies, have at least something. Bryson Stott's a prospect. Mick Abel's a guy. We haven't been able to develop anything, but at least you have something there. Okay, those guys can play. They have talent. Now, whether we can develop them into something or not, okay, remains to be seen. But at least I know there's something there with them. There's substance. I'll take that. But I'll trade those dudes in a heartbeat to go make my championship happen at this very moment because that's where we're at. And like I said, what pisses me off more than anything else with it is I could have kept Matt Klentak here or went and hired any other Joe Schmo GM to sit here and do absolutely nothing during this time.
Yeah.
Dave Dombrowski is supposed to be a guy that when he comes in, you make moves, you make shit happen, you go compete for championships. And then, maybe, he did this in Boston, right? They got really aggressive. They won a championship, and then they had to blow it up shortly thereafter because they couldn't sustain it. But you still had a championship to show for it, right?
And
it was still a championship, at the end of it to say, hey, at least we got a title.
And then they were able to rebuild it within a year. Last year they had a good team because they were
in Detroit, in Florida, he did that, right? Early on in Florida in the 90s. He built that 90s, that original Marlins World Championship team in 97. He was their first GM in 93. They quickly build that World Series championship team within a 5-year window. Then they blow it all up. He goes to Detroit. Same thing. Detroit's fucking awful. Oh, Alan Trammell's the manager there the first few years. They're really bad. They bring in Jim Leyland in 06. They go to the World Series. And then they sustained it, and they even built it even more. They went back to a couple more World Series with Miguel Cabrera and Justin Verlander and those guys. Now, they never won one, but still, you won what? 3 American League? You won 3 American League pennants during that time or whatever. And, that's a lot of winning. That's a lot of success. Then he goes to Boston, same thing. So that's his MO. Come in here, be aggressive, build it into a winner in about a 5-year stretch, and then maybe I get the hell out and I leave and let somebody else rebuild it. But we also have Sam Fold, who's the assistant GM, who apparently is supposed to be that guy that we're trying to groom into that future front office, whiz kid type guy. Okay, well then fucking do it. Like, why are we sitting with our thumb up our ass? I just have the Mets over here with a billionaire owner in Steve Cohen being aggressive as fuck. John Middleton talks the talk. Steve Cohen's walking the walk over there in New York right now with the Mets, right? Like, he doesn't have to come out and say he's going to spend stupid money. He just goes out and fucking does it.
Exactly. And
your hands almost forced to. Especially if the Braves let Freeman go, if Freeman finds a way out of Atlanta and goes to the Yankees, you're almost like, oh my God, thank you, high five. Now let me go. Now I have to go get Bryant and all these guys because our main competition now is probably the Mets. You can't tell me that Freeman, like if Freeman leaves the Braves, that's more than just like, yeah, obviously he's a talented player, but like you just lost your heart and soul. You lost your everything as far as the guy that.
And we're not gonna have to worry about the Marlins. We're not gonna have to worry about the Nationals. No, it was just the Braves.
You've lost your heart and soul if you're the Braves and Freddie Freeman leaves. And it's almost like that's a gut punch, right? It just takes so much air out of this, so much air out of you. I wonder if they're just going to be like, man, we're not the same without him. And maybe they struggle this year with him or struggle for the first couple years without having Freddie Freeman. I look at it as there's a time to pounce because as good as the Mets are, as much talent as they have, they're still the Mets. They still always seem to find a way to be a complete mess and fuck shit up at the end of the day, right? Like they're still the Mets. They're the Mutts for a reason, right? As we like to call them.
When I look at the NL, there's the Braves, the Mets, there's the Brewers. I'm really not afraid of any other team in the Central. And then there's the Giants and the Dodgers. Those are the teams.
The Dodgers, the Dodgers are they're kind of your blueprint of success right now in the National League, right? Like that's kind of like there was a few, the Yankees had that run there, for like a 20-year stretch where it's kind of like, this is what you want to be. This is kind of what you want to be. The Cardinals did that for a little bit. The Dodgers kind of have that run. Yeah, would you like, maybe if they underachieved, maybe a little bit. Maybe you could say they could have another World Series, but winning a World Series is fucking hard. Let's be honest, right? We know that firsthand. We should have won more than one and we didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like winning a World Series is fucking hard. It's not as easy as people make it out to be, but they're there every year, right? How many World Series have they been to? How many times did they go to the NLCS? Every single year, the Dodgers are going to be fucking good. And even they get hurt. Guys get hurt, and then they bring dudes out of nowhere. Guys like Max Muncy and shit. Dudes just come out of nowhere. They just bring them through the system. Left and right, over and over and over, year in and year out. The blueprint of what I would want to be as an organization right now, I'll tell you that much.
We can easily make the playoffs as like a 5 or 6 of those 6 teams. And
we could easily win the division if we make the moves we're talking about.
They just need to make the moves and do right by the city because there's guys that want to come here, like Chris Bryant.
And the Tommy's point, I think I might. Part of the other reason why I might focus on all that offense is because the Mets focused on all that pitching. When you bring in Max Scherzer, I can't really counter that with pitching. There's not another pitcher out there the quality of Max Scherzer. I need to bring in a Chris Bryant and a Nick Castellanos or a Kyle Schwarber or Matt Chapman or many of these guys as I can because I need to counterpunch your Max Scherzer move. But what are the Mets offensively? What are they? They're going to lose Michael Conforto, So what are they offensively? They're all pitching. That's really what they are.
Yeah, because you do have Alonso. They do have him.
Yeah, he's their best offensive player, sure. Yeah, by far he's their best offensive player.
Like they got James McCann, they got Alonso, they got
McCann. McCann. Like again, that doesn't scare me. Did they re-sign Javi Baez? Is he there, or is Baez they re-signed him? Right.
I don't see him on here. I don't think unless he's on here for a reason.
Is Javi Baez? If Javi Baez is a free agent, I want him too. Give me Javi Baez. He's another guy. Forget about what he might do offensively or what he might not do offensively. But boy, can he play some elite defense up the middle.
It says that he's on Detroit.
Oh, I didn't see that. He signed with Detroit, or did they trade him there?
They signed him.
Okay, see, that's a good signing for them. I didn't see that. What a good signing for the Tigers.
Let's see.
They could be sneaky good this year. Detroit might be my. They might be my sneaky pick out of the American League. Detroit. AJ Hinch is obviously the manager out there, right?
Like coming in and after the year suspension, and he did a good job last year, even though they
phenomenal job with them, yeah.
But he's developing talent there. That's what he's doing, and then what he had to work with, he did great. Troy says Alonso, Lindor, Marte, and Escobar. Yeah, but has Lindor lived up to the hype? Escobar was good. Lindor wasn't. Well, Marte, you got to see how he does. But then you got Brandon Nemo and Dominic Smith as the DH. And in Cano, it's not anything that you're afraid of with that team. It's just like you said, they got a couple bats, but they're primarily pitching. When you roll out a team with DeGrom, Scherzer, Taijuan, Walker, Carlos Carrasco, and Trevor Williams, that's going to be your team right there. And then you got Lugo is their closer. You got Trevor May, Castro, Santos, and Smith. Their pitching is definitely better than the offense. But he also said Mets got some offense, but it's inconsistent. So that's definitely the factor there.
Well, you're talking about Matt Chapman?
No, with the Mets. The Mets, their offense is inconsistent.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And then Chris Bassett, they haven't added that to the team, so he can plug in there. But I don't know if I'm plugging him over. Maybe I plug him over Trevor Williams, but then whoever doesn't go into that 5 spot is going to just move into the bullpen. So it's like I'm more worried about just like you said, the pitching than I am the offense. If we can add a lot of bats to the offense, because we're already hitting good. Like you had Bryce Harper win MVP, you had like Didi Gregorius on that team. You had what's his name at shortstop. You have bats.
And you're gonna have Segura, Didi. Didi might not be back. He might be back. Who knows what happens there? I'm actually really intrigued with the idea of seeing what Bryson Stott can give me in spring training and letting him try to win the job. You need some youthful. You need some youthfulness. I need a young kid with some energy that's got some pep to him. Where these veterans like Bryce, like it's good for Bryce to be around a kid that's like, oh, I remember when I was that young kid with all that energy. Oh yeah, fuck yeah, awesome. You'll fit it right in. Type of thing. It's good for that. I need a little bit of balance with that. And if he can play well enough at a high enough level, obviously you're on a rookie contract, really affordable. I can spend money in other places if that means Bryson Stott can give me enough up the middle, where I don't have to worry about spending money there. Segura playing second still huge, right? That's a solid infield.
Yes.
If I've got like Chapman, Stott, Segura.
Exactly. And then who knows? Alec Baum can get out of that mental aspect and start hitting at the DH.
Yep, absolutely. And you're even in a position where if Marchand's ready or something like that, you could move Hoskins to DH if Bohm's not there, and move Realmuto to first base and let Marchand catch, or move Realmuto to DH and let Hoskins continue to play first, and Marchand can still catch. Whatever, you've got some ability there. If you like one of your options at catcher, you could say, hey, you're a great defensive catcher. We can roll with you as an everyday catcher, and then let Realmuto DH, and that's even better because now you get more out of that Realmuto contract by not having to have him catch every day and letting him focus on hitting and preserving his legs and his knees and all that.
He says we need a starting pitcher. Ranger won't be there opening day because of visa issues, and Eflin is rehabbing his knee. You could probably get away with it for a couple weeks, just doing a 4-man rotation.
Yeah, I mean, Gibson's your 3. See, there's your difference, right? Is like last year, like Ranger Suarez and Eflin and guys like that were competing for your 3rd pitcher. Now you've got Gibson. It's like when we traded for Jamie Moyer and Joe Blanton at a time. It's like, all right, like they're not an ace, but that's just a really, really solid arm to have. Right there behind your 2 aces.
And that's where I want to get in that Chafin reliever, because if you have all those relievers there and the relief core does well, you can kind of rely a little bit early on the relief core to fill in.
Gibson could be like a Brett Myers type for you. You know what I mean? You're like, that's like, what a solid arm that is. You're never really like a one, but a guy with good enough stuff where he can compete, on any given day for you.
But other than that, is there anything that you want to bring up before we wrap things up? I know the guys they're probably going to be coming on soon tonight.
We pretty much have covered everything. One thing I'm glad we didn't talk about was intentionally kept out of the criteria was the Carson Wentz trade to Washington. I thought that somebody was going to bring it up in the chat room and that we'd be forced to talk about it. I'm pleasantly surprised it didn't happen. Why talk about it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what does he live rent free in people's heads this much in this city? Why do we do this? Is it this relevant? Great. Like, apparently it was a disaster in Indianapolis. At this point, the dude seems like he's a cancer to a team. I don't know. It's just weird. The dude's insecure. That's what it seems like. Very insecure. Not confident in in himself enough to, weak, mentally weak, whatever you want. Like, he seemed like you got to coddle him or fluff him a little bit. Whatever happened, we heard that when he was hurt, we heard the report of him and Darren Sproles getting into it, which I believe. I don't think that comes out. That doesn't seem like something Sproles isn't a guy where, like, that's not just going to get out by accident. he's hurt and he's talking with all the other guys about all the other injured players about, man, don't you guys hate seeing the team have success while we're hurt and not a part of it, sort of thing. A little bit weird. Just seems like a guy that you can't, again, isn't mentally strong enough to sit there and be like, wow, I'm hurt or I'm not playing well and my replacement's playing well. He can't be happy for that guy. He doesn't have the mental ability to be, like he's too mentally weak to be happy for that guy. He's got to be like, damn it, like now, this looks bad on me because I wasn't playing well and this guy is, and it immediately becomes like a him thing. That's not a winner. It's not a guy that's going to be a winning player for a team, but. He's got talent, and teams also see that. So when you have talent, you get multiple chances. You know what? He might be like the Jeff George of this generation. Remember when Jeff George, George, $1 million arm, 10-cent brain. Like Jeff George was the example, like one of the original examples of a guy like, yeah, you've got all types of arm talent, but man, every organization you go to is a fucking disaster. Wonder why that is. But at the same time, I was laughing. People were like, oh well, like every time he turned Philly into a shit show, and then in Indy it became a shit show. What you think's going to happen in Washington? I was like, Washington's already a shit show. What a perfect place for him to be. You know what I'm saying? Like Daniel Snyder and everything else that goes on with that organization. It's already such a shit show. It's not like he could be any more of a distraction to them than what the fuck they already are. I'm going to love the fact that he gets to play the Eagles twice a year because I know every time we play Washington, there's going to be people in this fan base having fucking mental breakdowns and having complete meltdowns over the fact that we're playing Carson Wentz. I hope that where so-and-so goes and snaps his leg because you're petty and need to wish like ill will on people. Like, there's going to be those people in this fan base.
Yeah. I just think that once he got hurt, that he changed.
Yeah, I think mentally he became shot. It was like a shot fighter at that point.
And then us win the Super Bowl without him, essentially, and it just killed his confidence. He came back. He's best when he can roll out of the pocket and then bootleg. And
certain guys are mentally stronger than others. Yeah. And I think when you when you watched him post-injury, it's almost like when you watch a boxer and you can tell that a boxer no longer it was like watching Manny Pacquiao this last fight or watching Oscar De La Hoya towards the end of his career. They can't pull the trigger anymore. They don't have the ability, like the mental ability to pull the trigger when it's there and the opportunities are there. They're a shot fighter, right? Just mentally, you can just see it. It's not the same. He was that after blowing out his knee. Mentally, he just wasn't the same guy. No. And 90% of bouncing back from injuries of that kind is mentally being able to get back to the level you were before. Same thing with Tommy John surgery in baseball for pitchers, right? It's not really a career ender anymore. It's not something that derails your career. As a matter of fact, the majority of pitchers have Tommy John surgery. It seems like the majority of them get it at least once in their career now. It's just the way it goes. But Adam Wainwright had Tommy John surgery, and he's still one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he's 40 years old. You know what I mean? Like, it's so it's a mental process thing. It's a mindset thing, and some guys have it and some guys don't. Unfortunately, why do we seem to have most of these guys in Philly that don't have the mindset? Like, we got these mentally weak motherfuckers, Carson Wentz and Ben Simmons, and the list goes on and on.
Yep.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Jalen Reagor. They specifically seem to play for the Eagles. I don't know what that is, but
Yep, and thankfully we got out of the contract when we did, when the Colts came knocking, because now he only lasted a year there, and then Frank Wright apologized to management for wanting to bring him in. So that's a huge thing to have come out, and I'm sure Howie Roseman's like, yeah, you were hating me when I traded him. And
this comes back to some dudes are winners or some dudes aren't. You can't lose to Jacksonville you've got a playoff spot on the line. Final game of the year. How you losing to Jacksonville? That can't be a thing. We can't bring you in to be the franchise guy and you're losing to Jacksonville the final game of the year. And I think once that happened, you realized as a team, no, Like, seriously? And I bet you there was people in that locker room, people on that team that before that game started, as they're watching him throughout the week preparing, as they're watching him pregame, they're like, this dude looks scared shitless. This dude's asshole is puckered so tight.
Well, he holds onto the ball so long. That's his problem. Like, he made that Indianapolis O-line look worse than what they were. They're a very good offensive line. They were top 5 the year before with Phil Rivers.
And he lost in the Titans game too, which they realized. There was a Titans game in the regular season where, like, he lost them that game. They were winning. Remember that game they were winning with like a minute to play, and he tried to throw the ball left-handed from his own end zone, and it got intercepted, and they tied the game with the pick 6.
Well, they lost.
And then they went to overtime, and he threw the pick in overtime, and the Titans won in overtime.
Yeah. And then they lost the game against the Raiders at home, where it was a back-and-forth game, but they had taken the lead, and they blew that game and lost that game. And that was week 17, and then they go and just blow it up against the Jags and got eliminated from the playoffs there. You don't lose to the Jags. That's a team that you beat, and then that's all they had to do was to make it, and they didn't. And
they should have beat them with their backup quarterback, and that's probably what they're thinking. Like, hell, we could have played the backup and beat these motherfuckers, and you're over here doing this?
It means something when you had no options behind Wentz. They went and just traded him. Their projected starter is Sam Ellinger right now.
They're going to trade for somebody.
Yeah.
They'll trade for somebody here.
They're linked to Kirk Cousins right now. They're linked to him. There's been small reports about Deshaun Watson. I could see Kirk Cousins as a very big possibility.
A bridge the gap sort of thing. Yeah. I could even see them drafting somebody. Kenny Pickett actually, like, and a high end on Kenny Pickett, and they talk, what was all the talk at the combine? Oh, he's got tiny hands. He's got tiny hands. He's got tiny hands. Great. Go play in the AFC North. Go play in the AFC South. You could play in Indy in a dome. Then you go to Houston. That's a dome. Jacksonville, there's usually nice weather. Tennessee's really the only place you're going to worry about. So you got 8 divisional games. 4 of them are going to be in a dome. I could see them even drafting a guy like that. People making way too much of his tiny hands. I think there's going to be three guys in this quarterback draft class that end up being really good NFL quarterbacks. Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, and Carson Strong, the kid from Nevada. That kid from Nevada looks very studly. When you look at all the quarterback prospects that were at the combine, you look at all the guys coming out in the draft this year, the one guy that you look at and go, yeah, you look like a franchise guy, is Carson Strong, the kid from Nevada. He is impressive. Malik Willis, he has upside.
Come out of Nevada?
What happened?
I said, you remember the last kid to come out of Nevada?
Yeah, I don't put any weight into any of that stuff.
Well, did you see he's been working out, and he's in the best shape of his life, according to reports.
Listen, there's no way you will convince me Colin Kaepernick is better than a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and there's no way you can convince me otherwise. That dude could at least be a backup on a lot of teams.
Yeah. It's just the baggage that he brings. That's the only thing.
What baggage are you bringing at this point? I mean, if people are still caught up on that, I mean, joke's on them. I mean, people got mad because Eminem took a knee during the halftime show. There wasn't even a national anthem playing. And they tried to spin it into him being disrespectful. Oh, I get it. Y'all just don't like it when anybody brings any attention to something that you disagree with. I get it. Great. You don't agree with the movement or the mission, so therefore it's a problem. You don't have to agree with it for it to be like, okay, listen, he can do what he wants. Like if he wants to knee during the anthem, I don't understand that. Like, okay, great. Like even if me and you decide, okay, yeah, I'm going to stand and put my hand over my heart during the anthem. If somebody else chooses not to, what's the big deal? Like, who cares? Why are we getting so bent out of shape? Did he go up and spit in some military guy's face? No. I even know military people. I got plenty of friends that are military that I umpire with and things like that right here would sit there and say, that flag doesn't represent me. The national anthem doesn't represent me as a soldier or the military, anything like that. Like, I actually served in this country because I want them to be able to have the right to kneel during the anthem if they want to. That's their right. Go ahead. Even if I disagree, go knock yourself out. I'm so tired of seeing people get bent out of shape about it. Whatever. So disagree with it. So then be like, all right, whatever, I disagree. And then move on with your life. But we get bent out of shape about way too much of this fucking shit.
Yeah.
Is he beating his wife? No. Is he raping kids? No. Is he murdering people or committing crimes of any kind? No. He started a foundation after all this where he's raised a ton of money and put it to good use and actually really become a guy where you're like, you know what, you've done a lot of good in your community. How can I hate on a guy like that? I don't know if I can at this point. Who gives a fuck?
Yep.
But America loves a good comeback story too. America loves a good comeback story.
But I think we've gone through everything today. I don't think there's anything that we've left out. Which is nice. There's been a lot going on. I know I touched on it. The Wilson trade. We can get into that a little bit more next week because I'm sure there's going to be a big move next week because we're still waiting on the Deshaun Watson situation. There's been rumblings about
he's going to go somewhere. He'll go somewhere.
There's been rumblings about DK Metcalf, and
I could see him ending up in Pittsburgh.
And then Fletcher Cox, of course. So we're still waiting on that.
And who else is in Pittsburgh, Daniel? Who was the rumor? What was the rumor about who Deshaun Watson want to play for? What coach?
Flores.
He wanted to play for Flores, who's now in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, all of this would all of a sudden, and Mike Tomlin, you tell me Mike Tomlin wouldn't love to have Deshaun Watson? Don't be surprised if something happens with that. I could really see it.
If that happens, it'd be a first time in a while that something went Tomlin's way with all the criticism that he gets. But he's been taking chances, bringing guys
he can
in.
Come coach my team any day. I'd hire him to be my head coach, my GM, my president of football, my owner. I'd hire him. He could run everything.
Yeah, and you bring him in if they can make the playoffs with that team with Big Ben.
Oh, they become a Super Bowl contender if they bring in Deshaun Watson. No fucking question.
Yeah, they're a contender. They're a playoff team. They become the number 2 in that division, even ahead of the Ravens.
Yeah, and they're a team to watch because they're going to make a big move because there's no way they go into the year with Mason Rudolph. It's just not happening.
Yeah,
they have to upgrade that position. And I mean, I could see them drafting a Kenny Pickett or a Matt Corral or a Willis type guy. I could see it, but at the same time, they're the type of team and organization that wants to compete, and they want to compete now. Yeah. They don't go through rebuilding phases.
If there's a team, I think Willis is going to – I'm not going to say he's a project. I see him as a good very good player coming into the league.
He's a little bit of a project. He's not going to step in right now and light it up, but in 3 years he could light it up. You know what I'm saying? A lot of upside there, but I'm with you. I don't think he steps into an NFL offense and takes him to the playoffs right now.
No. But I see a team like Seattle that would fit perfectly for him.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he could go in there. They have weapons there. They can push him along. And
if I'm a team in this draft, that's why I say, you've got to balance your stuff because you're not going to, if you're a team with the top pick, obviously you want a guy that you're going to build with. But right now, if you're a team that could get Kenny Pickett at the 18th pick of the draft, if you look at Kenny Pickett, a guy who's 24, who maybe he doesn't have the upside as Corral or Willis, but he's going to step into an NFL offense right now and play well enough where he's going to be, if you need an upgrade at the quarterback position, he's better than what you have. Like the Colts, Kenny Pickett immediately steps in and is better than what Sam Ehlinger can give you, right? He immediately steps into Pittsburgh and is better than what Mason Rudolph can give you. That sort of thing. So if you're a team like that, maybe you're more willing to draft a guy like Pickett over a guy like Willis, who you feel is going to take a few years to develop, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's all. Yeah, that's all going to be really intriguing over the next couple of weeks. We're getting closer and closer to the draft. All of these things. Really, you're going to hear all the stories and all the reports and all these things that come out. There's always going to be one or two prospects where something comes out where they do something stupid, like Laremy Tunsil wearing the fucking the fucking mask while fucking smoking the weed and shit, it hurt his status. Something's always going to happen with somebody. And then hopefully we'll have some breaking baseball news by next week. Hopefully a Chris Bryant signing or something like that happens by next Saturday.
Exactly.
If we need
but
to do
primary news, but the primary news is that baseball is back. They'll be back, I think. They're going to be playing April 7th will be the first day.
A full 162 game schedule.
Yep, which is huge. So we're going to get that back. Joe Buck will be moving to ESPN, and of course all the stuff with MoveWise that we talked with football and basketball, and of course we're not going to talk about hockey because our only hope now is that they get a number 1 pick. That's the only hope right now is that they get the luck with the lottery. But we will transition over to the guys that are coming up next, talking wrestling. Of course, they're going to talk a little bit.
Very ring, Andy Ritter and the boys.
Yeah, they're going to talk about Raw and everything shaping up with the road to WrestleMania, and then of course the Hardy Boys are back, so I'm sure that they'll bring that up a little bit with AEW. So I'll be tuning in. So definitely transition over to that and tune into them. Give them a like. Tune in the chat there to talk a little bit of wrestling with those guys.
Yes, Frank is yelling at me, telling me to hurry up, wrap it up. So that's what we got to do here. I'm Zach. That's Daniel. This is the weekly roundup, always brought to you by Alan Foy at eXp Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, looking for a change of career or brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty LLC, 302-682-8820, or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. We hope to have Alan on with us here sometime in the next couple of weeks to talk basketball with us. But until then, peace out. Hopefully Stephen will be back with us shortly as well. And, we'll get back to normal. But enjoy in this very ring. Andy Ritter and the boys.
See you guys next week.